Hello, folks, and welcome to the Great America Show and Rasmussen Reports. I'm John Fawcett, alongside my co-host tonight and good friend in this business, the great Mark Mitchells. It's about 5 minutes past the hour, 9 o'clock on the East Coast. The polls are now closed in New York. Polls are closed in Virginia, where the race has already been called for the Virginia governor's race, the Attorney General's race. Fortunately, the Republicans didn't prevail. We're still holding out on that Attorney General's race, which has been plagued by racism and hatred on the Democrat side. We will bring you the New York results as they come in, the California ballot results as they come in, but the hotly contested race here in New York City. Mark, a delight to be with you tonight, my friend.
Yeah, really great to be here, and no surprises. No surprises at all. If people were following us, they would know that there were problems. The Republican Party is not going to win in a blue state, especially not with Trump on the ticket. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I've got some good news, Mark. Before we get into tonight's show a little bit further, we've got a good friend and a special guest joining us. He's a good friend of mine, a great friend of the show, none other than a brilliant Republican strategist and pollster and great friend, the great Roger Stone. Roger, we appreciate you joining us this late at night, my friend.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm also, by the way, I follow Rasmussen polls very closely. I'm a big fan of Mark's work. I think he's one of the fairest, most objective, and I think shrewdest analysts of the numbers out there. So I'm glad to be with you. Of course, I'm also on my third martini. Anyway.
Oh, no.
I got some juice, too.
We're in trouble tonight. Raj, give us your assessment on what happened tonight. I see, in my opinion, a regression, Roger. If you look at that Virginia's race with Winston Sears, I see a regression back to the pre-Trump days, the country club era Republican days of Republicans who just don't embrace the MAGA agenda. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think it is a misnomer that has long been in American politics that the first off-year gubernatorial elections are a measure of how the national administration is doing. And that used to be true. I don't think it is true any longer. These are both reliably blue states that are demographically have been trending away from Republicans. Virginia in the 70s became a reliably conservative state, won by virtually all of the Republican presidential candidates, has only trended left with the implosion of new residents, particularly in Northern Virginia. And also the suburbs of Richmond, which were once solidly Republican and conservative, have become substantially more moderate. And New Jersey is an interesting state because Trump lost there by 15 points. It was a non-targeted state. That was in 2020. But in 2024, when it was still a non-targeted state, he only lost by 5. That demonstrates that, at least on paper, that Jack Ciattarelli could make it a race. And I actually give him great credit. I think he did make it a race against, huge demographic odds. And I thought he scored in the debates with her. His opponent seems like she's a better fit for Virginia than she is New Jersey. There's nothing New Jersey about her. She, of course, comes from the Hunt country in Morris County. She's not reflective of the Democrat machines in Newark and Camden and Bergen counties, Hudson County particularly, but I do think that there's a huge Democrat advantage here. Also disturbed me last week when the Passaic Board of Elections chairman, who happens to also wear a second hat as the Passaic County Democrat chairman, announced that there would be no cameras allowed in the paper ballot counting area, and there would be no log kept as to who came and went from that area. Welcome to New Jersey.
Mark, your home state.
Yeah, and it was a sunny, beautiful day. Probably would have been better for Jack if it had been raining. But that's the problem, is that people look at those elections and they say, wow, isn't it stunning? New Jersey's purplish. And I think that they kind of forget that in 2021, people were really, really, really mad at Murphy here. Government overreach with COVID was a really big problem. Businesses were getting shut down all over New Jersey. And I think that that's one of the reasons that he did that well. And then people will look at his vote share and says, oh, well, he actually outperformed Trump. He only lost by 3%, forgetting that it's a off-cycle election and he only got 1.2 million votes. And Donald Trump was able to convince 2 million people to vote for him in 2024. But then the other thing about 2024 is that I think we all have to acknowledge how bad the Biden presidency sucked. And that was a tailwind, I think, for Donald Trump in a place like New Jersey. And it's not something that's going to convert to, again, Jack's great, but I don't think that Republicans really have a believable plan for New Jersey that can compensate for the fact that most of these people probably just voted for Mikey Sherrill because they hate Trump. Like, that's probably really what I think happened. And they're going to continue to lose, especially among the young people who, if they were not voting, Jack Ciattarelli probably would have come a lot closer to winning and might have won.
I agree with most of that. I would say a couple things. First of all, I think Ciattarelli's close finish was a freak accident when one of Phil Murphy's people actually blurted out the fact that he was going to put in place far more draconian lockdowns because of COVID-19. I think that caused a late rally for Jack, and he overperformed in that race. That did not mean the Republicans would automatically win the governor's race. But here's the other thing I can tell you. If the Republicans won both tonight, just by just a freak accident, the Republicans triumphed in both Virginia and New Jersey, the fake news media would say this was not a referendum on Trump and he was lucky. But when we lose both, which is what you would expect based on all of the research, all of the history, all the polling, and all of the trends, these are blue states, heavily blue states. They will say it's a repudiation of Donald Trump. So he can't really win. I don't think it's a measure particularly of anything other than the fact that high turnouts in all of these elections show that people are angry. And then you have the mess in New York, which is a whole separate question.
Real quick, we want to get to New York, Roger, but before we move on to New York, the issue I took with Ciattarelli's race was an issue that I took with Carrie Lake's race and her numerous losses down in Arizona. Ciattarelli was running on this national stage, and I turned on Fox News last Thursday or Friday, and I see Ciattarelli in the town hall with Sean Hannity. And then I think to myself, I worked at Fox News, and I've seen the numbers of the people that watch in New Jersey. That's not how you win a race. How you win a race is doing exactly what Zohan Mamdani did in New York, and you go resonate with the people. That's the issue I took with Jack Ciattarelli in his last week. He spent on Fox News every single day.
Well, I guess I would argue that if you looked at your polling, you would find a disproportionate number of his base voters who are still important to keep energized or watching Fox. It's better than, and of course, the mainstream media that's going to reach perhaps a broader voter demographic isn't going to invite him to come. It's kind of the way it works. Look, I think New York is important because I think they're on the cusp of an absolute disaster. But the idea, Mark, I'd like to get your views on this. I've seen some of your polling. The idea that if there's a three-person race and one of those people drops out, that all of their voters are going to move immediately to the remaining challenger is a falsity. It doesn't work that way, particularly in the case of Curtis Sliwa, who is the nominee of the Republican Party, who's won a Republican primary, who has running mates running for city council and civil court judges. And Andrew Cuomo's antipathy to traditional Republicans, having once said out loud, if you believe in the right to own a gun or you don't support abortion, there's no place for you in New York and you need to move. You need to leave. Now you add to that his record on COVID and the nursing homes and the no cash bail that currently plagues New York City and has caused its crime problem. This was signed into law by who? Governor Andrew Cuomo. This guy was a very weak, polarizing candidate from the beginning. I was not surprised when he lost the Democrat primary.
Yeah, that spot on. It made me gross, like really feel dirty. The extent to which so many people came out and tried to, interfere and try and somehow prevent this from happening for New York, because this is what New York wants. They are very proudly voting this guy in, especially the young people.
Mhm.
And I think that they probably listen to the way that the right complains about him and warns about him and says that it's Muslim taqiyya. Maybe he's going to be Trojan Sharia law. I think they like that. I think they like how Mamdani makes the right feel, and they don't really care that there might be negative ramifications for ushering socialism into New York, which is the capitalistic banking sector of the world. And so I don't know how much this guy's really going to be able to screw up. And I don't know if Trump should really get involved or not. But coming out there, imagine if Trump was the person that got Cuomo over the finish line. That's a slap in the face to the people who are, quite frankly, like, I'm dealing with COVID stuff right now. My mom has what I think is cancers from the third round of Moderna. I didn't want her to get it. And all of these people who had to die alone in a nursing home, it looks like the Republican Party is putting that in the rearview mirror when Donald Trump comes out and supports somebody like Andrew Cuomo. It just, and I feel that, like, I do vaccine polling all the time. We just polled on remdesivir. Nobody cared. It's like it happened. We forgot about it. There's going to be no accountability. And I think the young people that voted for Donald Trump, I think that they were asking for sanity and accountability, and they weren't asking necessarily for traditional grandpappy conservatism, because I don't think that's the message they want to hear. And Republican Party.
Just to be clear, I mean, the most recent data I saw showed that 71% of New York voters were less likely to vote for a candidate endorsed by Donald Trump. But again, the notion that if Curtis Sliwa dropped out, all of his votes would go to Cuomo, or if Cuomo dropped out, all of his votes would go to Sliwa, that's a false premise. So for those who say it's Curtis Sliwa's fault that we elected Mamdani, I don't think they understand the true dynamic here. And in fact, surveys that showed that when you took Sliwa out, Andrew Cuomo still wasn't leading Mamdani. He was still trailing him, and he would continue to trail him. I don't think he would have beaten him in a two-person race because he had his unfavorable rating is extraordinarily high. This is a man who had to step down as governor ahead of impeachment for alleged sexual harassment, if not assault. He has the stain of having put all these COVID patients into the nursing home, something he was never charged with, but I think he should have been charged with. I think he lied about it in front of Congress under oath as well. This is a guy who was driven out of town, and he couldn't win the Democrat primary even with that vaunted Cuomo name. So I think he was kind of out of gas, polarizing, a weak candidate, not capable to do the kind of street campaigning that Sliwa and Mamdani did extensively, because Andrew Cuomo feared that piece of videotape that goes viral of somebody saying, "Hey, you, my grandmother died in a nursing home because of you." So he's basically forced Biden-like to campaign from his basement.
Yeah, wow.
We also saw, as Mark reiterated, Roger, the fact that we had everyone turning and pointing their fingers at everybody. Who is anybody to say? Lou Dobbs used to say to me all the time, Roger, when I would say the lesser of the two evils, he would tell me I'm an idiot because there's no such thing. They're both evil. Voting for Cuomo is cutting off your nose to spite your face because of Mamdani. The last time I checked, I think Mamdani is going to be the worst thing that's ever happened for New York. But the last thing I checked, Mamdani wasn't the one who put tens of thousands of people in nursing homes to die. He wasn't the one who had to resign, as you said, for sexual harassment. So sitting out here, people saying, why are we interfering in an election? Let the process play out democratically, as we saw in the elections. Republicans want to talk about election interference, but at the same time, they want to sit there and interfere in election. New York made its bed, Roger. You can't, in the 11th hour, come in and say, well, as Cuomo said yesterday, he's sorry for the COVID deaths, or as these Wall Street hedge fund guys want to come in and say, whatever. It's too late. The table is set. Sit down and have dinner.
Look, I see this billionaire, I guess, Bill Ackman, who's an investor. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. I'm sure he's a fine guy, but he keeps insisting that if Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, will just drop out, this would guarantee victory for Andrew Cuomo. And therefore it will be Curtis Sliwa's fault for running for mayor, that Mamdani's election. I think that's an entirely unfair criticism because, as Mark knows, 100% of his votes are not transferable. Yeah. And the data kind of showed that he'd still lose the race. So I think that kind of unfair commentary from the outside, and this last minute Trump urging people to vote for Cuomo over the Republican nominee, I don't think it moved any votes. And the data would indicate that Trump is obviously in an overwhelmingly Democrat city. This is not a Trumpian stronghold, to say the least. Republican registration is down to 10% in New York City. I actually thought it was 13, but I looked it up and I was wrong. This is an all-time low. This is a city that has only about 1/4 of the voters are Roman Catholics. A quarter is now Hispanic. Basically, the whites are only about 31% of the city. And of course, the African American vote continues to be just less than about a quarter of registered voters. It's not the same as the population breakdown, but this is an overwhelmingly city. The city has changed demographically very drastically since the days that Rudy Giuliani was elected mayor, and Republicans had to recognize from the beginning the odds of electing a Republican mayor in this city today, given its makeup, were very, very long to begin with.
As of 6 p.m. Eastern time, Roger, I think the vote total is at 2 million people had voted in New York City, which was the highest turnout since 1993. So as of now, it's probably broken a record. Who is this a referendum on, in your opinion?
Look, I think Mamdani and Mark kind of referred to this in a way, or maybe perhaps it was you. Mamdani also benefits from this hope and change phenomenon, which younger voters buy into the narrative that he's a grassroots phenomena, challenging the special interests, challenging the dark money, challenging the oligarchs, when in fact he's completely a creation of them. All of his campaign financing didn't come from small donations, not even the fake ones through Act Blue. Yeah. No, his donations came from an interlocking collection of 501c3s, 501c4s, nonprofit organizations, NGOs, and political parties moving money back and forth quite illegally. And the origins of this money are unknown. But this is a very skilled op to take over first the New York Democrat Party and to take over New York City. Now we are literally in the place where the next mayor may endorse the ideology of the very people who were told to attack the Twin Towers on 9/11.
Yeah, full circle. It's beautiful. And the part that blows my mind is how much the right projected onto everybody else its fear of socialism. And if you ask America what's better, free market capitalism or socialism, they'll say capitalism still, but the number is shrinking. But the people who are like afraid of democratic socialism is not as high as you would think. In fact, most people under 40 would vote for a Democrat socialist. It's like a 30-point lead almost. And in the city, it's even bigger. And so this idea somehow that they think there's a problem. It's like, no, you taught them to love multiculturalism. You didn't really teach them what real capitalism is. And they think even if they knew it, it's failed them. And economic populism is growing. People want more of it on both the right and the left. And unfortunately, they look at a guy like Mamdani, and I think that they say, well, it's different, but maybe he's got the answers because the systems has failed me. And I look at the party, the people in power, and they're not going after the things that I need them to in order to change things the level they need to be changed. And I think that that's the problem because I don't think the right is equipped to really fight that fight right now. And so you're going to see more Mamdanis.
I guess I agree that just the epitaph that you're a Democrat socialist doesn't carry the heavy negative connotations that we might think it is. But when you ask people, do you think it's a good idea to defund the police? Or you ask people, do you think white people should pay higher taxes and a disproportionate amount of the taxes paid? Which is exactly what Mamdani said. Do you think that the prisons should be opened and everybody in them should be let out? Because as Mamdani said, the only reason you would incarcerate a criminal was to please the victims. He actually said that. So, I think that when people realize the impact of specific policies that Mamdani will enact and how dangerous it's going to be in New York City, as I think both capital will flee, large employers will feel, small employers will close down and flee. I think the real estate prices in the city will descend into hell. And I think there'll be a mass migration to places like Texas, Florida, even Dubai.
Dubai, isn't that where John
can only hope? I hope the pain is severe for them to teach them a lesson. the amount of pain that we saw under Joe Biden was good for about a 5.5-point move towards Donald Trump. And so it does change people's minds, but how much, and is it enough, and how fast enough, and is the change reversible? I don't know, because they do, like you said, they don't like that stuff. They tell us they don't want the police to fund it, but then they just vote Democrat anyways.
But that's because they're low information voters. Let's put it another way. I actually think that if Mamdani is elected tonight, and I believe he will be, I think Cuomo was never within range. So all of this hoopla over the last several days, he was never within range. He's a deeply flawed candidate for all the reasons we've already discussed. But I think that the deterioration of New York City, which is going to be relatively rapid, could very easily impact the New York's upcoming race for governor. Kathy Hochul, she was a gift from Andrew Cuomo. Everybody should remember that. Yeah. She was lieutenant governor, handpicked by Andrew Cuomo, who ascended to the governorship, the most unpopular governor in polling that I have ever seen, polling in all kinds of districts. I always keep an eye on her approval ratings and her net unfavorable. It's extraordinary. I think she's endangered in the Democrat primary, although I'm not sure to who. And from a generic point of view, if an accomplished Hispanic woman challenged her, she'd be toast, even without a name. I don't know that person exists, but at least Stefanik, I think, could be a serious candidate for governor because of these unique circumstances. Yes, this is a deeply blue state, and it is not easy to elect a Republican. I thought Zeldin ran as good a race as you could with limited resources. I think he worked very hard, and he came on at the end, and he, I think, exploited some of the vulnerabilities. But this is a different dynamic. If New York City is burning, and I think there's high probability it will be, in a rhetorical sense, and perhaps even in a literal sense, this could very much impact the governor's race and put the governorship within reach.
We're getting the heart out for Roger here. I've just been told by Roger's esteemed colleague Enrique that he's got to go. Roger, where could people follow your show? This half hour, I mean, we're only supposed to go 15 minutes. It's already been a half hour. We appreciate Roger staying with us. Where can they watch your show? Nice. Roger's like the hardest working man in radio.
So you can hear us every evening during weekdays at 8 p.m. at WABCradio.com. So it's the Stone Zone on WABCradio.com. 77 WABC in New York. We're also syndicated in a number of other cities. You can always go to the Stone Zone, stonezone.com, and you can see interviews and read some of the print stuff I write, get all my books and products. And if you're a real masochist, you can go to stonecoldtruth.com for my Substack, where I wrote an incredible piece on what will happen in New York City if Mamdani is the mayor.
Looking forward to it. The great Roger Stone. You can also catch him on the Great America Show each and every week. Roger, great American, patriot. We'll see you soon, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be with you, Mark. And Mark, thank you for your fine work. You do a great job, and I always look forward to your commentary.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
See you soon, Roger. Thanks, brother. Roger's awesome. He's such a good dude. Great American, patriot. He's on my show every weekend. I can't get enough of him. The audience absolutely loves him. He does such a good job, and his color commentary is second to none.
He has more numbers than I do.
Roger's been in this business, Mark. You put mine and your age together, and that's how long Roger's been in this business. I mean, he is a savant. I mean, he really knows what he's talking about. Lou loved him. Lou admired him before he passed away, and I got to know Roger pretty well over the last few years. He knows everything, and I'm not saying that facetiously. He really does. He can talk to anything. He's been in this business so long, he can really talk to anything. But this is some scary stuff we're seeing, Mark, tonight with these numbers out of New York. A lot of people I'm seeing called the race for Mamdani. We'll let you know if anyone credible calls it yet. But there's no way I think that Cuomo pulls this thing out, or Sliwa, or anybody. I think he wins probably by 5 or 6 points.
I'd be surprised if that's as small a lead.
There
was one Atlas poll that I think had Mamdani up 5. Every single other poll had, I think, had him at least up 10. And for a while there, he was averaging like 15 or 16. Yes, Lee was splitting the vote, and Cuomo, it's surprising he's doing as well as he is with how bad a candidate he is, and the fact that he's running as an independent. And just listening at the registration of Republicans in the city, It's horrifying. They're like ground zero though for shipping people in. There's probably overrun with H-1Bs and illegal aliens, and they've been, the center of immigration hubs forever. And I think a lot of the people who might vote their wallets probably like commute in from the outside too as well. So it's and unfortunately the Democrat Party is becoming lefter and more insane. This isn't Bill Clinton's Democrat Party anymore. It's Mamdani's.
Mark,
They are.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we've got a race to call here on the Great America Show. Rasmussen reports the AP is now reporting that Mikey Sherrill will prevail in New Jersey to become the next governor of New Jersey. So it was the long inevitable. I guess I wish we could have had Roger on here to react to it, but I think this is what was coming. Mark, give me your take on it. What I said to Roger, I believed that Jack was running a national race. He made the same mistake, in my opinion, that Kari Lake made multiple times. He's running on this main stage where it doesn't matter. You can raise money, from out of state. That's fine. But that's only going to get you so far. In the campaign business, Mark, we used to put out lawn signs, right? You drive around, you see people's lawn signs. And I'll remember the last race at work, we had a lawn sign, Mark, on every single person's lawn you could possibly look at. And we said, we're winning. We're winning this race. And someone said, no, you got to remember, lawn signs don't vote. People vote. And it's the same concept with Jack Ciattarelli running this national race, this Fox News-esque race, where he thinks that national TV was going to bring him over the finish line. And it's the complete opposite. What Mamdani ran, that race Mamdani ran, is the race that you got to run to win. What's your take on that?
Like, I don't know at a deck plate level what he could have done better campaigning. But what I can tell you is, like, in my poll, he won with everybody except under 40 voters. When you go on Fox News, you're not reaching under 40 voters.
Nope.
And so maybe he's hoping that more grandmas turn out and that's what was going to put him over the edge. This is the Democrats will turn. You have a presidential election. Republicans think it's existential. They get behind their person. What has to happen? An entire labyrinthian network of volunteers and people just giving it their all and building a movement and fighting an info war on Twitter. All of this blood and mud and sweat goes up against this Democrat machine that is finally honed and will get those people out. And then the right wins an election with just that last bit of grit, like Rocky going up against the Russian guy in Rocky IV. But then the next election comes around and a bunch of like rudderless, stand for nothing, establishment Republican types are going up against that same machine, and they're going to get wrecked. And so I'm looking at the vote share prediction on Decision Desk HQ, and it's got Jack at like 45% to 54. He like down 9 points. My polling had him at 6, and I was one of the lowest polls. And so the results, like the entire polling industry was to the right of me. So my only conclusion there is that right-leaning Trump voting independents completely failed him.
Yeah. I saw that.
He wasn't enough to inspire people. And it's because I think people are worried about the direction of the country. And what does the Republican governor ultimately at the end of the day have to do with the direction of the country? Not a hell of a lot. So
yeah, it's just little stupid things, Mark, that, I heard Ciattarelli joking, saying he was bringing back plastic bags. People to your grocery stores you don't have to pay for. People don't realize, Mark, and this is what I've been trying to get through to people. They started with plastic bags. They started with COVID masks. From COVID masks, it went to vaccines. From COVID vaccines, it went to mandatory COVID vaccines. From that, it went to, you go down the laundry list of things, men to women's sports. It's been this cylindrical type system that's been going on now, Mark, for 10 years. So to hear people, and I use my sister as an example all the time because she's a radical Democrat, but to hear my sister terrified living in New York City that Mamdani's going to be the mayor, and I laugh in her face and I say, listen, you thought it was going to end at trannies playing with your daughters in sports. That was just the appetizer. And I say this all the time because I don't think people, Mark, have opened their eyes to realize how bad the Democratic Party is and how much worse they're going to get. People are not realizing it, Mark. And with Mamdani's massive win that is expected to come in the next few minutes or next hour, what do they expect is going to happen? You are going to see prayer rugs in Times Square during Ramadan. You're going to see things like that. So when people come out and say, well, Cuomo's our last chance to save us, bullshit. You knew this was coming, and you helped get to this point.
John, put my screen up.
Oh, no, I'm scared.
The slippery slope is real, friends. It's real.
Oh, my goodness. For anyone who's not joining us on audio and here on the Great America Show, Mark's got a great graphic up here, and it's called The Slippery Slope, and it starts with a gay couple saying, let us get married, and then it goes on to say, bake our cake, and then use our pronouns, and let teachers use your kids' genders, allow minors to dance for U.S. in drags, and then the last one I can't read, but Mark, it's a perfect depiction of what is happening right now here in America. People think it's a joke. People thought it was a joke to allow. I use this one all the time because I think it's so prevalent, because so many of my friends have kids. You have kids, you have daughters. I think it's so prevalent because they're our most vulnerable, and like people think it's a joke.
The mentally infirm were weaponized against America. I think you are here because this really kicked off in earnest with COVID, and we track a lot of these things like reparations, for instance, like whether people support that kind of stuff. And the Overton window has been moving left significantly during the Biden administration. And why did that happen? Well, there was the big lie, and you can't believe that. You have to make sure that you correct your brain so that it can't account for the fact that our elections aren't stolen. And then we have to literally put cloth on your face and make you stand away from people and stay inside for a year. And then you have to put people who are exercising their free speech in jail because they're endangering the herd. Like, these are the mental tactics that were used on these people. And so you're not going to be able to break that conditioning by giving them a plastic bag back at Walmart. It's not even on the same playing field. They probably need some kind of major mental shock, and I don't know what that is, but they're very happy Democrats, and they're doing it because they're afraid of Trump voters. They don't like Donald Trump. They literally do think he's a Nazi, rapist, whatever. And the Republicans they're still afraid of being miscast by the leftist media. They literally spend all day hiding from taking strong stances. If you talk to a Republican in New Jersey, you're not going to get a lot of substance, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We got another race to call here, Mark. It is now being reported by the Associated Press that Zohan Mamdani will become the next mayor of New York City. Congratulations, New York. You guys have done it again. You guys are just absolutely brilliant. Every man who voted for him, congratulations. You guys got what you want. And I'm looking forward to it, Mark. I'm looking forward to it because this is what the people want, and I'm a man of the people. You're a man of the people, so let's give them what the people want. You know, Cuomo. I sent you this video the other day, so I'm going to put it up for the audience. But Cuomo, I think, made the perfect pitch, Mark, for everyone to vote for Mamdani. And let's watch it.
Zoran Mamdani wins the election. Donald Trump will take over New York City. He will be President Trump and Mayor Trump.
What?
He has already said as much. He will say, because it'll be the perfect excuse for the president to do what he wants to do, which is seize power and control over New York City, the greatest city in the country, if not the globe. And he will say, this person is a threat to public safety. He's 33 years old. He's never had a job. He's anti-police, anti-business, anti-Semitic. I have to come in to protect New Yorkers. And on what would be Mayor Mamdani's election inaugural day, you will see tanks coming down Fifth Avenue with Donald Trump taking a selfie.
I like the idea
in front of Trump Tower. And it will be mayhem.
Is that fear-mongering, or is that how realistic do you think it is?
It is what President Trump said he will do. And it is what makes total sense for him to do. He sends National Guard into cities. Why? Because he's making a political point. These Democrats don't know how to run these cities. and they endanger people. And it takes me, Donald Trump, to send in the federal troops to clean up the mess these Democratic lunatics are creating. That's what the National
I've
Guard
never
is
heard him tell
about.
such
They're not
truth.
really there for any other purpose. It's a political power play. When I was governor, he sent them into 20 cities. He then said, I'm going to send them into New York. I called him up. We had a conversation. He never sent them into New York. He needs an excuse, a rationale, a raison d'etre to send them someplace.
Speaking French now?
Portland gave it to him. Chicago gave it to him. LA gave it to him. When I was governor, he didn't have it. He is a very tough customer, and you have to be equally as tough, or he will roll over you.
Mark, when I saw that, I won't tell the audience who I voted for today, but when I saw that, he made the perfect pitch that you need to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, tanks in the cities. Only if they look like this, John. Put my screen up.
Oh, God. Let's see what Mark's got for us now. Let's see if we can get this up on the terrible.
This is the only kind of tank I support in Democrat City.
Oh, boy. That's brilliant.
Look, the treads are gold bricks.
I think it's the perfect. Oh, there we go. That's brilliant. Anyone who's been to a Donald Trump hotel or anything knows everything is gold. He made the perfect case, Mark, that New York needs to be federalized. We're letting this socialist Marxist take over, this communist. Let's send it. And I don't know if you saw it today, but Donald Trump is now back to doing a little trolling with Kathy Hochul with the congestion pricing. He says, I want my Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, to take a long, hard look at this congestion pricing, which is absolute, absurdity, Mark. You have the highest taxes in perhaps any state in America. You have the ridiculously high sales tax. You have Easy Pass. You have extremely high and they just want to keep pounding and piling it on.
He should not get interfered. He should not interfere at all.
No?
Donald Trump should only interfere if the life and safety of U.S. citizens is at risk. My advice to Donald Trump is let New York be New York. Let them do their thing, and then work behind the scenes to offer tax credits to every corporation in New York to move to a red state. That's the best thing that he could do. Let that city collapse. Pull the rungs out from underneath it as fast as possible in secret.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I get the point. We say it all the time. He doesn't have to ever run again. It's up to the next Republican, whoever decides it to be, to go on and take that over. But I don't see how. The reason I'm kind of sort of happy that Mamdani won, and it doesn't make a difference with what I've said or what I've done on the show. It wasn't moving the vote even one person. The reason I'm kind of happy is because I believe that we need Mamdani in order to start this healing process. He's going to do whatever he's going to do, or he's going to try to do whatever. But I think we need him in order to start the healing process, because the way I see it, we've danced around the socialism topic for so long. We've danced around taking on full socialism. People need to experience it in order to know what it really is. These idiots, these blue-haired freaks need to understand what socialism is. Your thoughts?
Donald Trump has 2.5 years to make New York City look as bad as possible. And I think they're going to run this guy. I think they're going to run Mikey Sherrill. I think they're looking around at their current roster and they find it wanting, and they're in R&D mode to try and find a 2028 candidate, because I think they're worried they're not going to win the presidency. I think they're not going to have Dominion. I think that J.D. Vance is polling pretty well. I think that the Democrats still kind of look like losers nationally as compared to Kamala Harris. And they're still worried that Trump might do a lot of things that are effective. I really do. And he might. That's true. And so they're incentivized to do as much damage as possible in 26 and steal whatever they can and take that and throw as much money, as much Chinese launder money as they can at 2026 and win that no matter what. And then impeach this guy, like undermine the Republicans, blow them up the way the Republicans are blowing themselves up right now. Like the Republicans are literally just handing this to Democrats. It's unbelievable.
Let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, Mark, a quick minute-long break. Let you get another bottle of water. And let's talk about this on the other side of this break. This new awakening of the Republican Party and some influencers and some members of Congress who are sort of starting to drift away from the MAGA coalition that built them. Take a quick break here. We'll be right back.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98. Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Thanks everyone for staying with us. The great MyPillow. Did you ever get your order, Mark? Did you place your order?
Just 2 days ago, believe it or not. So yeah, my stuff's coming. I'm gonna start sleeping on it, see what happens.
You got Freya the dog bed because
She got the dog bed. Got it in pink. I'm gonna get some Giza Dream Sheets up in here. See how it goes.
She's gonna absolutely love it, and hope during that commercial break you got one of your Zins in.
No.
I made Mark try Zins on a car ride one time, and he thought his mouth was melting.
It was weird.
An interesting phenomena. But for any of you people who've smoked, you know what the need for tobacco is, and you know what nicotine is, and you know the need when you need it, and you need it. So, safe smoking alternative.
Do they sponsor you, John?
I wish they did, but they're a Marxist run company. Actually, I have a box from Tucker Carlson. He sent me some of his. I've got to try them. I'm sure they're
you got to get on his program, man.
Tucker. We'll talk about Tucker in a little bit because he's been having an interesting time and the people going after him. Actually, I want to get that clip up of Mark Levin, who's absolutely losing his mind. But first, let's talk about this kid who's taking the internet by storm. He goes by the name of Brian Hollyhand, who I text Mark every single day and tell him it's his adopted son. But it's this kid.
This kid was thrown in a test tube, man.
It's this kid who's taken over the internet by storm, pretty much going on college campuses doing these speaking things. And last week he goes on a tour and says that America's pretty much a melting pot and we need to allow in as many migrants as possible. But now he puts out this video today. And this is what scares me about the future of the Republican Party.
There's a cancerous ideology spreading on the right from a small but loud group I call the woke right. They scream hate and pretend it's courage. Here's the problem, though. The left didn't disavow their cancerous ideology years ago, when the squad was just a radical fringe having press conferences. And now that loud minority grew into their base, and that movement is about to elect a socialist to run America's biggest city. If we don't call out our own in the name of winning elections, this fringe will drag our party off a cliff like the squad did to the left. I refuse to let that happen to us. You can be a bold conservative without being a bitter one. We can call out bad things the Israeli government does without blaming the Jews for every minor inconvenience in our life. Just like we can call out AIPAC for bankrolling American politicians and say that should be banned. Just like we can demand secure borders while getting only the best and brightest in America without banning all legal immigration. I mean, I didn't fight to end the old establishment of the Grand Old Party and kick out the neocons just to replace it with hate. We're supposed to be the party of faith and freedom, not anger and chaos. If we sit on our hands and allow the mainstreaming of people fantasizing rape, idealizing Stalin, and proudly saying they're Team Hitler, we don't only lose every single election going forward by legitimizing the lie that the left says we're Hitler Jr., but we also lose the moral war that conservatives are here to uphold. Hate killed the left. If we're not careful, we're going to be next.
And folks, that's Brian Hollyhand Mitchell. Talking about winning elections, never won an election, never worked a campaign in his life, wants to tell us who've done it. I've done it for 15 years.
I think my 13-year-old and maybe my 10-year-old could take him. And maybe Ella, who you just saw, might be able to take him too.
She's too cute. You can't let her near him. But what do you say to this person who thinks they're taking out? Now, granted, this kid posts a picture in a private jet. like 2 weeks ago, going to a Turning Point USA event that he wasn't even paid to speak at. I mean, there's just so many unanswered questions about this kid who's like making a name now for Republicans. What do you say?
The dangerous thing about that screed is that every word was carefully chosen. That was written by a genius. That had every single trick packed into it. I would have to go sentence by sentence. Like, first off, there's limited hangout. He said, go after AIPAC. So that's limited hangout. That's like, you see, I don't like AIPAC too, that we should stop that. But then he did a perimeter around legal immigration. This kid is an offshoot of the big business wing of the Republican Party. He's an info op. He's trying to steer people back to, like, the Club for Growth types. We need to make it a melting pot. It's bad for you, but it's good for our wage costs. You know what I mean? Then what else did he do? First off, he took a big old hug around what he calls anti-Semitic hate, which I think he puts his arms pretty wide, and then dumps it all in Nick Fuentes' lap. Well, here's the thing. There are angry men on the right, and they've always been there. They've been there long before Donald Trump was the thing, and they were the first people to get Donald Trump off the ground. And so the idea that you can somehow, like, ignore that and, like, stuff it back into a closet, especially in the post-Twitter world, it's not going to work. There's just so many things in there like that. Like, he's mentally gatekeeping people. He's trying to define the movement. And no, it reeks of inauthenticity, and it's not going to work. Like, this guy is not going to work. Charlie Kirk worked because he actually believed the things he said, and you could tell that he had put rational thought behind it. This guy is like, I mean, I don't know. Is this what an intel asset looks like? I can't even tell, John.
Did you say incel asset?
Oh no!
Boom! Roasted.
Oh yes! Oh God, John, you got to tweet that, and I'll. No, do it right now.
I'll tweet it right now. We're gonna roll this video though because it
Intel
sounds
asset. How about incel asset? You got to get it quick before somebody steals it.
I'm gonna get it out, but I want to before we roll that out. I want to get to this video because it sounds he's speaking like a 75-year-old man. Not that there's anything wrong with 75-year-old men. I love them, but he's talking like he's a 75-year-old man trying to take the Republican Party back. The thing that I want to know, Mark, and this might get taken out of context, and I hope it doesn't, but what is anti-Semitism? And to me, it seems anti-Semitism has morphed into something that is pretty much anything you say, speak out against the Israeli government, AIPAC, or any sort of mishap that's happening in that country, not the people, but the problems that are happening in that country makes you anti-Semitic. And it's getting worse and worse and worse because of people like Mark Levin, who did this terrible
Hitler
speech.
admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system. They don't have a lifetime job like a bureaucrat who we're going to protect. And if they're your friend, there's something wrong with you. No Hitler admirer, Holocaust denier, platformer should be anybody's friend, as a matter of fact. You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism.
American patriotism,
You don't get
John.
to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick.
So he ties in there, Mark. He ties in Holocaust deniers with anyone which is my point I just made. Anyone who speaks out against the Israeli government with an Holocaust denier, and I mean to do that is extremely reprehensible and extremely irresponsible, in my opinion, for someone like him to know better than that. But this is the new world that we've morphed into. That anything is anti-Semitism.
Well, it goes back to Brylan Hollyhan and the way he defined what I call woke right. You didn't coin the term, dude. Other people did. And they use that word to define people who they say are woke because they use white identitarianism to undermine the movement. But the problem is the people accusing folks of being woke right act woke. And that's the problem, is there you have this reverse woke right now. And because they're misusing these terms, they're using woke tactics. They'll say, for instance, with Nick Fuentes, well, he's a Holocaust denier. How could you listen to him? It's like, how did I listen to him? Well, I went to YouTube and I pressed play. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he denied the Holocaust or not. Why is it my responsibility to listen to everything this guy says? Oh, well, look at this clip. He denied the Holocaust. Well, I didn't hear the context, and it's not incumbent on me to go listen to him to determine whether it's Holocaust denial or not. And it's like, let's have a nuanced discussion about that. Like, yes, the Holocaust was real. Yes, probably millions of Jews got killed, but you're not even allowed to like literally discuss the facts. And so what happens is angry young men who see a psychological operation are going to push against the boundaries. That's what young men do. They have risk-taking behavior. And so Nick Fuentes did not build this movement. He took advantage of a movement that has been literally trodden on by the entire world. Angry young white men. And the fact that he's really popular now means that the angry young men are more pissed than they were just 5 years ago. If you look at search trend volume, Nick Fuentes just passed Ben Shapiro.
Wow.
It's really incredible. Nick Fuentes is now more searched on Google than Ben Shapiro, his freaking self. And put my screen up, John. You're talking about Mark Levin. This is unbelievable.
Oh, this was great.
Because
we said this before the show, I think. Let me see.
Yeah, the young people are going to win this fight, Mark Levin. You are the legacy Republican Party. Your kind of Republicanism is dying out. Do I want it replaced with Nazis? No, I do not. Do I think Nick Fuentes is a Nazi? Well, I think he likes Nazis, but he's not a member of the German National Socialist Party. You know what I mean? Like, let's be very specific with our terms, because they are not. I was called a Nazi because I won't disavow Candace Owens, and I don't even watch her shows. Why do I have to disavow Candace Owens to make you feel better about Israel? It doesn't make any sense. But he says Fuentes, and like, how did he respond, John? Fuentes, if that is his name, lol, looks like I got under prepubescent little Adolf's unpure quasi-white skin, his illiterate, incoherent brain farts, and he's not incoherent. He's very intelligent. Exited the wrong end of his dwarf-like body, but he does have his committed following of gropers. He really should replace that funeral-like suit with the brown shirt like a good Nazi. As for deportation, given his mixed background, like what? He would qualify for expulsion to a number of third world countries where he could crawl back to his little dark hole like the cockroach he is, psycho bastard. So this is like a 70-year-old wealthy legacy Republican punching down on a 27-year-old kid.
A Hispanic kid.
Yes, with white identitarianism and racist remarks. He met anti-Semitism with racism. And look at this ratio. This is a very young post. This is like 2.5 hours old now. No, 3.5 hours old. Mark Levin got 1,500 likes. Nick Fuentes, 39,000. Oh, I better unlike that. 39,000. All he wrote was, "Are you okay?" Nick Fuentes is winning this fight. And yes, he needs to clean up his message. Yes, he shouldn't have said those things. But he's not going away. He's only getting bigger, and the Republicans have no idea at all how to handle this guy.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes I don't watch him. I don't know him. I've seen some of his stuff on Twitter. I don't know. Like I said,
I've seen one interview.
Right. It was with Tucker Carlson, as they like to call him. Never seen the kid, never met the kid, don't know anything about him, but I see his clips. And I mean, that's what makes America America and not North Korea. The fact that you have that on the internet to make your own determinations on who's credible to follow and who's not. And everyone likes different things, Mark. I love sports. You hate sports. You're not a anti-Semite, Mark, because you don't like sports. It's gotten to be so crazy. Right. And Tucker Carlson, now they're going after him, and they're not going to win the fight against Tucker Carlson. He's self-funded. Nope. He has all the money in the world. Nobody's going to cancel him. Nobody's going to deplatform him. So this is a losing battle. And you know they're losing when they go after it with the personal name calling and all that stupid stuff that the Democrats and these brown hands start doing. You know you're losing it when you cannot debate substance. Debate Tucker on substance. What did he say that you disagree with? When you generalize and you broadly call someone an anti-Semite and they're owned by Qatar, it dilutes it down, Mark, to everything they said about us Trump supporters in 2016, that we were the, quote, deplorables, right?
Yeah. That and their very thin gruel, like this Qatar stuff. Let's be real. Both Qatar and Israel do fund influencers, 100%. I've heard personal stories of people who have been literally approached by people from both countries. They do it a little different. They're each a little different. But if you, and this isn't me, just ask Grok. Just say, be objective as possible and compare all the monetary and non-monetary ways that both Israel and the Jewish people and Qatar influence American politics. And Grok will say they both influence it a lot, but Israel influences it much more for a whole bunch of sociological reasons. And then you can ask it to quantify that. But with Tucker specifically, they say, well, his flight got paid for. It's like, okay, the dude's worth like 200-300 million.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, well, Qatar funded his business. And it's like, from what I've seen, he took investments from multiple people. One of them was one of the royal family dudes. He paid him back with interest, and he has a business.
I didn't even know he took it from a royal family. He took money from Neil Patel, who was his business partner, who started the Daily Caller with him, who Tucker's known since he's 18 years old. The other guy he took money from runs a multinational corporation here in America. I think he went to Colgate University, born in America, raised in America, went to school in America. So their points are totally moot. They want to call people anti-Semites. Yeah. Well, what are you when you go based on someone who's an Arab or someone who's Muslim? I mean, that's like the connotation that all Muslims are bad people and all Arab people want to kill us. I mean, it was stupid back when people started saying it back then, and it's so stupid now.
That's
and it's
right.
And I mean, it's just extremely irresponsible. I'm sure some people would disagree with me on that, but it's totally irresponsible. I mean, it's the same way of profiling someone based on the skin of their color. Nobody does that shit here in America, okay? It hasn't been done here since the 1950s, and it's never going back to that way. But somehow...
the IDF does it in the airports, though. I guarantee you 100%. But, all I'm saying is things have gotten so bad in America that we need to be able to have difficult conversations. And we need a place where we can be nuanced enough to say, I don't hate Muslims, but I hate radical Islam.
Yes.
And I don't mind them having a religion, but I would like to convert them to Christianity. And yet I don't think we should have Sharia law here. That's a very nuanced conversation. And I think that those are very reasonable takes, but you're not allowed to have that about certain other countries. You're just not. And Brylan Hollyhand said one of the things, right? But it's like, well, then we're going to form a unified front because we need to be this. It's the gatekeeping. The Republican Party needs to be this because this is what I say we stand for. Well, it's like, okay, you're going to lose the election.
Yeah. My best friend, Mark, is Muslim. He's an Albanian Muslim. I've been best friends with him since I'm 12 years old. And his family, I've went away on family vacations with him since I'm a kid. He's my best friend. Till the day I die, he'll be my best friend. He doesn't buy any of this stuff. He doesn't. And you know what? He doesn't even get offended by any of it because he knows that there's factions inside of the Muslim community. Like there's factions inside of every single organizational group here in America and overseas. I mean, if a Christian person shoots up a school, Mark, we don't go out there and generalize and say all Christians are bad people because they're not. If a Muslim commits a crime, we don't say they're all bad. If a Jew commits a crime, we don't go out and say all this bad. You can't have rules one way that don't work the opposite way. And I feel like we've morphed into this society now, Mark, where it's if you're a Muslim, you're bad. If you're a Jew, you can't do anything wrong. If you're a Christian, you're marginal. You may go shoot up a school. You may not. And as a Christian myself, I'm like, how is this now the new goalpost?
Well, if you did, they would blame it on the religion and not the SSRIs.
Sure.
We all know that because they make money on the SSRIs. But there is one carve out. I will say that the tranny thing does really worry me, the tranny shooters, but we need to be able to have a nuanced discussion because that used to be classified as, a mental disorder, which it's, probably limits your ability to have weapons. And they changed that, which I don't get, but it's like, there's a very specific aspect of mental health that is worrying. And that's not because of identitarianism. It's because when you have situations like this, you have to be pragmatic about the numbers. As, in my opinion, JD Vance is giving everybody a masterclass in how to do that. Yeah, you made the face. But
We'll talk about it on the other side of this quick break. Let's take one more quick break. On the other side, we're going to be joined by a friend of ours, Professor Nicholas Giordano. We're going to get back into a little bit of politics in some of these races, but we're not done with this conversation yet, folks. Please stay with us. We're talking with Mark Mitchell. We're on Rasmussen Reports' streams. We're on the Great America Show streams. We're coming right back, folks. The poll party is just getting started, and it's POLL party. We'll be right back.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Thanks, everybody, for staying with myself and the great Mark Mitchell. It seems Mark's still giggling about something that was said over the break. I'm not entirely sure what it was.
I'm just reading the replies to Mark Levin, man. They're just like so elite. I can't even, John. They're so funny.
So while we were in break, Mark, some more races were called. It's now being reported that Jay Jones will become the next Attorney General of Virginia. That was the fellow who wanted the MAGAites dead. So it looks like a clean sweep of the Marxist Dems. Let's bring in our pal and our friend, Professor Nicholas Giordano, host of the PAS Report. Sir, how are you doing tonight?
I might need one of those pillows because I don't know if I'm going to get a good night's sleep after what I'm witnessing so far. Certainly not a good night for Republicans. Some of it was predictable, some surprises. I mean, the Dems, who would have thought that they would go out and vote in droves for a person that advocated the killing of their political opponent and their children as well? You know, you look at the dynamics. I think I'm disappointed with Chitterelli. I thought that he might have had a slim shot to win the governor's race there. I thought that was our best chance. I'm not surprised with Abigail Spanberger winning. Winsome Sears has been down. Rasmussen has been showing the polls. She's been down quite a bit for a long time. And Virginia has, as government has expanded, as the federal bureaucracy has expanded, the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, notice Virginia has gone blue. The more federal bureaucrats in the Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland area, the more blue it becomes. So that wasn't something that was unpredictable. And then New York, I mean, you know, let's face it, New York is the only thing that's shocking is Mamdani had an overwhelming victory. Okay. Everyone was saying that the polls were tightening up. But this is what happens when Republicans surrender areas to Democrats and end up telling their people to vote for a governor who was thoroughly rejected and left the party, the governorship, in disgrace, and they backstabbed their own candidate. So it's not surprising to see Mamdani have the victory he does in New York.
Mr. Polster, before we turn it over to you, I just want to go through some of these numbers that we've got in here just to get your reaction on where we're at in these races. With 88% of the vote in New York, Mamdani's up 50.3. We'll call it 50% to 42% on Cuomo, 7% for Curtis Sliwa. In the Virginia's governor's race with 88% of the vote, I mean, a molly-whopping 57% for Spanberger to Winsome Sears is 43%. And then looking over at the New Jersey governor's race, I mean, absolutely getting murdered. 83% of the vote in, 56% to 43%. I hacked into your computer last week when you weren't around, and I saw some polling that you were doing that showed this was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it came down to turnout. The number said that my number said Jack was going to lose by 6. But when you
I told you were crazy.
Yeah, right. Then if you look at very likely voters and other pollsters that use very likely screen, it was a much closer race, like Jack down 1. And I don't know where the ball is going to stop. Like, it could tighten up. It could actually wind up being exactly 6. but it's so hard to predict turnout here because basically you can't believe anything anybody says in a poll anymore. And the Democrats are like coming out to own Trump. Like they are still doing that, in my opinion. And also, it's like there's this idea. I don't think everybody's really come to terms with how much Trump won with crossover Democrats and with independents that just don't feel the need to come out when Republicans are on the ticket. This is the same story with the special elections back in the spring. And they're going to continue to lose until they have good answers because right now they're just governing like Republicans and people wanted to change and they're not getting a change. I think this is going to happen over and over again. And it's going to drive the country into the arms of Democrat socialists because the Democrats are moving left at breakneck speeds. And the right is kind of just like being its same old stupid right. They have to change.
Nick, I want to get your take on this because I've been following the Virginia race really closely, and I've met Winsome Sears and I've spoken with her on the show many times, and she's what I embody is someone who's a country club Republican, someone who's just the good old establishment, doesn't want to rock the boat. Do you think that that's a part of the reason why she performed so poorly in this Virginia race, looking like she's probably going to lose by somewhere in the margin of 7 to 8, maybe 10 points? Not embodying what President Trump won Virginia on, which was the America First agenda.
Well, I think that partly explains it to a certain degree, but I think something that a lot of Republicans downplayed and even mocked and made fun of was the No Kings rally from a few weeks ago. And I was actually warning Republicans that, hey, when you have people turning out for a protest, especially one as lame as that, they're going to vote. Okay, they're going to go to the polls and they're going to vote. They're energized. And it's a new dynamic because let's face it, at the No Kings rally, it was mostly old people who are supposed to lean Republican, old people who are supposed to lean conservative. And yet they're voting, they're protesting at this No Kings rally. So it was an eye opener. And I think that Republicans are underestimating. First of all, they always perform poorly when Trump's not on the ticket, when he's not running for office. And they got to figure out, why is there no enthusiasm for Republicans when Trump's not on the ticket? But also, I think it's Republicans have failed. I mean, let's be honest here. They haven't introduced a single bill to dismantle the bureaucracy. They haven't introduced a single bill that takes power away from the FISA court. They haven't introduced a single bill that really introduces fiscal responsibility. All the things Republicans campaign on, they never actually introduce the bills that would accomplish that. And a lot of Republicans get turned off. And independents, too, let's face it. I know a lot of independents that the only issue they care about is fiscal responsibility. Yeah. That's it. And they support Republicans. But when they see Republicans campaign on fiscal responsibility and then the budget expands, that we only spend more money, well, they just say, well, what's the point? I could vote for Democrats or I could just stay home. I'll just stay home. So I think Republicans really need to get back to the core identity of fiscal responsibility, limited government, starting to rein in the bureaucracy, returning power to the people and the states, and let New York City be the test case, because Mamdani is now the face of the Democrat Party. Let's be honest here. You had President Obama, you had Hakeem Jeffries, the House minority, all come to kiss the ring of Mamdani. So now the progressives are emboldened. They believe that they run that party. Let Mamdani be the face of it. Let him implement his agenda, and let's see how voters react to New York City's rapid decline.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Republicans got a gift, which was Donald Trump's America First platform. And it was a wake-up call, in my opinion, that they have not heeded. And I agree with you on the idea of like fiscal responsibility and limited government. But when you look at the under 40s, even the ones that voted for Donald Trump, they're not conservative at all. Yeah. And people like to convince themselves they are. They're actually super socialist. And if they don't see the system burn down, I think that they're going to go into the arms of democratic socialism. If you look at New York, the young people just love this Mamdani guy. And I think the Democrats are shrewd. They know that they can recreate an Obama-type movement by capturing the zeal of young people. And so it's literally going to be socialism on the ballot. And the Republican Party is not going to win if it's like, well, capitalism's the better system. Well, it's like, no, your capitalism kind of screwed over America. Like these people, these young kids can't get jobs and their healthcare is super expensive. And you didn't really help them with that. You shipped their jobs overseas and you haven't really like busted down on the corporations and done antitrust, like the kind of stuff you would expect Republicans like. I mean, they have to offer a better economic system than the one that we currently have, and they're not doing it. Like Trump is, but Trump's not going to be on the ticket anymore. And hopefully JD Vance, like he's polling really well. I think he's the only one really that has a shot. Like the idea that they're going to be able to like put Ted Cruz or Ron DeSantis on the ticket and go up against Mamdani, the young people are going to usher this guy in on like in a parade with ticker tape. Like that's where we're at. Everybody wants economic populism, literally, except the Republican donor class.
Yeah,
yeah.
Before I get your reaction, Nick, Mark brought up such a good point. I know so many people, so many young people, college kids who are just out of college, who voted for Trump because they liked what he was selling. They liked the young idea. They liked that he tried to bring everyone to the table. The young, he went to colleges. He went to college football games. You know, he was this boomer who was out there energizing kids, and kids were walking around college campuses with Trump hats. I mean, you had guys in the NFL, guys in college football doing the Trump dance. I don't care what Mark says. I like JD Vance, but JD Vance is not going to. Marco Rubio is not going to. Tulsi, whoever the nominee is not going to be able to fire up people. And to second that, nobody's going to be able to go up on a debate stage and say that they only called Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig and got away with it. So people don't realize the tides that Donald Trump brought in, and a rising tide rises all boats. But when that tide goes out with Donald Trump, the Republican Party is going to lose a hell of a lot of support. Professor, what do you say?
Well, it's because they don't have a plan. I mean, let's face it. I saw this in the 2022 election, right? That was supposed to be a red wave. All the Republicans were confident about a red wave. And in September of that year, I saw that no Republican was really talking about education. No Republican was going into communities that the Republicans long ignored, saying the Democrats did this to your children, that they destroyed your children. They kept your children socially isolated for 2 years. That led to a rampant mental health crisis. Mm-hmm. And they never played that card. Why? Because they're dumb. I mean, let's be honest here. The Republican leadership is just plain and simple. They're stupid. They don't talk about the issues that ordinary Americans care about. Like, where is the outrage that we spend $1.4 trillion a year, local, state, federal government spending combined on education, and yet we rank 26th in the world? Standards have been dropped routinely. Students can't read and write at grade level, yet Republicans don't make an issue out of it. Well, why not? Why don't Republicans make an issue that a whole bunch of college kids were lied to? They were told that if they go to college and get this piece of paper, that they're going to have a great career. We created this myth that the only pathway to success in life is through a college education. And students took out all these loans, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now they're working as a store clerk somewhere. So instead of taking the fight to the university, saying you need to do away with useless degree programs like gender studies or Caribbean studies, they just remain silent on it. When you look at home ownership, and this is the first generation that I'm aware of that believes that their lives are going to be worse off than the previous generation. That's not the way it's supposed to be in America. And when you have the cost of housing, the average house at $400,000, $450,000, $500,000, that seems unattainable, especially when you made them take out $150,000 in student loans that they still can't afford to pay back. So Republicans need to get into those issues, but they don't. Instead, you hear, like Mark said, you hear the same old tired talking points of the Republicans rather than speak to the issues that people actually care about. And let's be honest, it's not just young people, right? It's people in their 40s and 50s that are also struggling, that also have a difficult time in how expensive things have gotten. I mean, I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was saying, Trump really needs to bring down those food prices, because every week we feel it when we go to the grocery store, and we make a good living. It's not like we're paupers out there, but we feel the crunch. And until you inject that economic optimism, until you show young voters, middle-aged voters that there is hope, that America's days are brighter, that they're not going to vote for you. And I think without Trump on the ticket, it really is going to create problems for Republicans if they don't get to their act together. And I will give either of you $10. We'll make it easy. Who could remember Kevin McCarthy's plan for America when he announced it in 2022? What was it called?
I wasn't paying attention.
Exactly. Right? Like, we could still refer back to Newt
nobody
Gingrich's-
believed it would have happened anyways.
Well, I'm just saying, we could still refer back to the contract with America that Newt Gingrich put forward. It was memorable. It had actionable items. It had items that people cared about, and that's why Gingrich was successful. I don't remember a
nobody
single thing
believes in
from
the
McCarthy's.
Republicans. There's no goodwill there. They literally look at lying old. There's an age aspect here that I think we're only really starting to come to terms with. And I think there's like a divide at kind of like you said, the 50-year mark, where it's like people who spend all day online versus people who don't, who still listen to Fox News. And they're going to increasingly disagree on the future of the country. We're seeing it play out in real time on Israel right now. And the Republicans are definitely stuck in this sort of like old aspect, and they were the ones that caused this problem. Like, I'm an honest pollster, so I'm doing a hell of a lot worse than you, and like groceries are really bad. But here's the thing, like, we both know that they can't really reduce prices. Like, maybe they can nibble at like the meat price, maybe they can do this, maybe they can do that. The one way that they could fix this really, really, really rapidly is to fix the wage issue, to make the job market overheat. Because I'm old enough to remember when Obama said that coal miners should learn to code. And I think that if we got rid of 2.6 million foreign nationals who are here on visas, who are taking all of our engineering jobs, that our biggest national project could be teaching 2.6 million people in the Gen Z to code so they could afford houses. And yes, the wages will go up. Yes, that's bad for business. Yes, the cost of labor increases. And yes, those are all the Republican donors. But I haven't heard a single person even hint at that direction, except for J.D. Vance.
But at the same time,
John,
we're also going to see that civil war emerge in the Democrat Party. I mean, I have little doubt that you have Congresswoman AOC is really going to challenge Senator Schumer for his seat, and she will win that primary. And I think that as screwed up as the Republicans are, Democrats are even more screwed up. And unfortunately, that's like the only saving grace by default.
Yeah,
the only problem is people feel good voting for Democrats. That's the only problem.
Well, they felt good voting for Trump. The only problem with the AOC thing, a lot of people don't realize, that's fine. You'll trade out AOC for Schumer, but they're one of 100, and in Congress, in the House, they're one of 435. They really can't do much on their own. And with this filibuster, it's really a nonsense job. The things you have to.
Well, my point was that you're seeing the progressive wing has taken over the Democratic
100%.
Party. It's now the Democratic Socialist Party of America.
100%. I wouldn't even say America. I'd say Uganda. But what's happening is what people don't realize. Before we go into that, how about we look at something a little bit more granular? How about cleaning up the streets and the drugs? That's something that everyone could resonate with. Not having to walk down the street and walk past a homeless guy who smells like piss. Not having to walk down the street and watch a guy shoot up Trank or watch a guy overdose on the side of the street. We can start with that.
But New York City just voted to have that happen, right?
Yes. Yeah. So this is what people are going to get now. But going back to what you said about AOC in the Senate, what people don't realize is it's more of a granular level issue that the New York State Assembly, the New York City Council, has more power in the state and city of New York than does AOC as a senator, or one of two senators in New York. And that's the thing that people don't realize. And that's the thing that these politicians don't realize. They want to skip the steps. They want to overlook the city council, let those people stay there for their 8-year terms. The state assembly, I don't even think there is any, there may be a term limit in the state assembly. It's the other one in New York where there's no term limits. And these people sit there for 100 years. Why are they not looking? Why is the Republican Party not looking to take over state legislators where it really matters? Tonight we saw the Pennsylvania.
Because the party bosses want to keep their positions. They don't care about winning or losing elections.
I understand, but this is something that should be a top-down decision from President Trump. President Trump should have delegates, or J.D. Vance.
That's not how he works. That's
not
how it works, Trump.
That's what has to be done in order to save these states. We just watched the Pennsylvania Supreme Court now overwhelmingly be reelected Democrat in Pennsylvania tonight. So what does that mean, Mark? That means in 2028, when there's a problem with a damn ballot, it goes to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and they tell them you don't have standing. That's the big picture that people aren't understanding. That a big picture boils down to the small picture. And the small picture is we've got to start looking at these city councils and these state legislators if we want to make a change, Mark. If you want to do a ratification in this country, it's not going to take Congress to do that. It's going to take the governors of these states.
John, who did everybody pin their hopes on in New Jersey? Everybody was pinning their hopes on one person, Scott Pressler, some guy with a 501c3. And so that's how low the Republican Party is. They're literally not doing their job so bad that they're hoping other people show up to do their job for them. The precinct strategy. The National Republican Party is a donor harvesting organization that's there to maximize the amount of consulting kickbacks, and they have absolutely no centralized strategy to win. They just do not. Because if they did, they'd be coming to me for polling. Not a single freaking one of them has. I have like 2 senators' offices that have reached out to me ever. Like, that's literally it. And we poll more on these issues about the right than literally anybody out there. They do not want to win. They don't give a crap. They will profit just as much in a down market as in an up market. And so it's like, yeah, messy fourth turning. We're in for like a freaking civil war or like a NATO meat grinder. I don't know what to tell you. But the
Well, and
Republican
it's
Party
also the
is
state and
completely
local
MIA.
GOPs, right? Because, I mean, President Trump, as president of the United States, can't manage all the local GOPs and the statewide GOPs. And let's be honest, when the GOPs say, well, don't support the Republican candidate that's on the ballot, instead support the disgraced ex-governor, well, why are Republicans even going to turn out to vote if that's their leadership? And, you know, there are some, like the Whitestone Republican Club, they get people engaged. Queens Village gets people engaged. Those parties emerge outside of the GOP itself, because the GOP, when they hold their meetings, the party bosses are the ones that do the speaking. They don't talk about anything interesting. They don't invite speakers. They don't go out into the communities and say, oh, we got new residents here. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's try and win them over. And so the GOP apparatus has been a complete and utter failure because they don't know how to relate to the ordinary person. And as long as, like Mark said, you got the consulting class, they get the wheels greased, they're happy. They make just as much money and they have just as much power losing as they do winning. In fact, winning will bring more scrutiny upon them. So when they're losing, nobody's paying attention.
So does this mean, Mark, we're supposed to just sit back and let business be business and let this thing go? I mean, it's like we're just watching years go by and years go by with nothing changing. I mean, President Trump is going to depart in 3 years and, you know, will never be in the president's office again, and it'll be the next person. And we're supposed to just allow these city councils, these governor races to just go by the wayside. I mean, we lost Kentucky, which is as red as a state as you could possibly get. You got a Democrat governor down there at Andy Beshear. I mean, are you supposed to just allow these to just keep going away?
No,
what's your fix?
I think we're headed to like a post-political world. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I measured a bunch of ways in which the temperature is increasing in America. A lot of fear, political violence, like 90% of people are concerned. And so, like right now, there's 3 obvious ways this plays out. One is that like NATO or China drags us into total global war. And I'm not trying to be a doomer. Like, these are
You're
things.
a ball of sunshine tonight.
No,
this is Mark every day.
NATO. The NATO head is like, we need to be prepared to fight a 2-front war with China and Russia. And right now we're fighting a proxy war with both of those people right now. We're literally doing kinetic operations against Venezuela, who's backed by China through the Silk Road Initiative. So that's on the table. And that's usually what happens when the debt to government, total government debt to GDP ratio goes above 100%. It's like the escape hatch that the elites use, throw some kids into the wood chipper and maybe we'll skate by. So then there's that. There's now the Democrats are emboldened, and Trump is still going to roll National Guard troops down, the avenue in Chicago to try and defend ICE. And are they going to, get a little bit of that Fort Sumter feeling? I think that's a real possibility. I don't know what that looks like. And then it's like, okay, well, if you look at what's happening online and how upset the youth are, you're basically talking about like a communist party versus a national socialist party shooting it out. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Those are the 3 most obvious options.
Well,
so
we're blaming a lot on the politicians, the political class, the elites. At what point do we say the voters get the government they deserve? I mean, let's be honest here. The one thing that I'll say about Mamdani, the one area where I'll give him credit is he was very honest with the people about what he wanted to do. He didn't hide his socialism. He wore it as a badge of honor. And yet you had millions of people, 2 million people, I think, come out and vote. So voter turnout increased from 23% to about 45% probably. But think about that. 55% of New Yorkers, a voting age population, didn't turn out to vote still. And voter turnout is pathetic at local elections. It's pathetic even in statewide elections and federal elections. So at what point do we have to blame ourselves? Not us particularly, but voters blame themselves. Americans blame themselves because they're the ones that have allowed it to get this bad. And like I said, people are upset that Mamdani is now the mayor of New York. I'm not upset. The voters spoke. Let New York City get the government they deserve. And for all those people that complain about Mamdani, did you volunteer for Curtis Lewa's campaign or Andrew Cuomo's campaign? Did you make phone calls? Did you knock on doors? And if you didn't do those things, then don't complain to me.
No, you know what everyone tried to do, Nick? They tried to Monday morning quarterback after the cards were already dealt out and everyone had their chips in the middle of the table. Can we take a quick break here? Are you able to stay with us through this quick break, or do you got to go tuck the kids into bed?
I'm able to stay for one more for you.
All right, let's take a quick break here. Mark's got to go use the restroom. He just told me, and we'll come right back. There's so much more. He didn't tell me that. I was just using that. Come on, Mark. We're going to come right back. There's so much more news to get to today because it seems now this government shutdown is going to start affecting the everyday lives of average Americans and the less fortunate Americans. We're coming right back with Professor Nick Giordano and the great Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Report.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
So I guess we're now in a record-breaking shutdown, Mark, and you're delighted about it because you're big on the fiscal responsibility of the United States government, as I think Nicholas is, and as I am. But the Trump administration came out today and said they're going to cut the deficit by $600 billion this year alone. Is that even possible? Crickets,
You're asking
anybody?
me? I don't know. The number sounds kind of high. Maybe the shutdown will help them. I like the idea of the shutdown as a hammer to get actual legislative action, and they're just voting the same crap over and over again and running and hiding. So I don't really know. They're going to get punished over the shutdown, I think, increasingly. But so far, Trump's kind of skated. He's at -8 net approval yesterday, which is the lowest of his term, but it's not that bad. I don't think people really care that much about the government being shut down. It's more what are you guys going to do about it? And right now, nobody wants to do anything. And the Democrats had it as a backdrop for an election that they just did really well at. And so right now, what's happening is Trump's getting frustrated at his own party and yelling at them to use the nuclear option, which I don't even think they can do. It just looks like garbage. When what we thought we were going to get going into this was Russ Vought, chopping off whole portions of the federal government, which would have been great for everybody. The Zoomers really would have loved that. I haven't heard about that guy for a month now, so I really don't know what their plan is, but it's not good.
Nick, the Democrats today voting for the 14th time to not reopen the government. They're saying next week, if the government's not reopened, that they're going to have to start shutting down some airspaces across America. Tonight, we saw tragically a UPS plane go down in Kentucky. We're praying for those folks, the 3 people who deceased, 11 more injured. This is going to start hitting the lives of everyday Americans. I get on a plane now, and I'm terrified as it is to get on a plane out of Newark, New Jersey, with the issues that we have there. But you've got that. You've got President Trump defying the court order, saying SNAP beneficiaries are not going to get their payments until the government reopens. I mean, who is on the winning side of this issue?
It's so hard to tell. the first 3 weeks of a shutdown, nobody feels it, nobody cares. And I think even if the government reopens tomorrow, nobody's going into the polling booths next year based on the shutdown of this year, right? It will be quickly forgotten once it's over. But the longer it goes on, well, now the more pain it causes. And when you start to inconvenience Americans, Americans get mad. And I don't know who the American people are going to blame with this. It seems like Republicans historically usually get the blame for government shutdowns. At the same time, I do think that given the fact that they've had these clean resolutions, the clean CRs going forward, and Democrats keep rejecting them, and you have a Democrat like John Fetterman coming out saying that Democrats should get on board with the clean CRs. That's always what was passed. That was always what was agreed upon. It does make Democrats look bad. There's speculation that maybe Democrats will now be willing to reopen the government because they did win the election. So now they want to show that they can govern. At the same time, some say that maybe they look at the election victory as a reward for keeping the shutdown going, right? The far left at a base came out in droves. And if we reopen the government, then we're going to face backlash from the far left. It's really hard to say how long it's going to last, but it can't last that much longer because it will decimate the economy. I mean, listen, I am someone that believes you could cut 20% from every single government agency and government program, and nobody will feel a thing.
Sure.
At the same time, though, when you immediately take 1.6 trillion, because that's our national deficit each year, when we're taking 1.6 trillion out of the economy immediately, that does cause a shock to the economy as well. And when we examine it, our budget's a friggin' disaster. And this is part of the problem. It goes back to the Republicans and the failure of their leadership. When was the last time we actually followed normal budget procedure in the United States where we
2000?
introduced 12 individual budget bills, funded each agency, each of the departments, and passed it the right way? We don't. And what's happened throughout this time is more and more discretionary spending has been given to these federal agencies and departments. And these agencies and departments can spend the discretionary funds any which way they see fit, as long as they can justify it to Congress. It's a complete disaster, and we have to get it under control. What happens if we don't reopen the government? I don't know. This is now the longest shutdown. If we have to close down airspace, I mean, think about the amount, forget people being transported from one place to another and tourism and how that takes a hit. Think of how many goods are shipped through the air each and every day and how that could grind production to a halt, how that could lead to supply chain continuity issues. And it could wreak havoc on a Trump economy. And the one thing we all know about Trump, he does not want to have a bad economy.
Yeah.
He will be very upset with a bad economy. So I think that something's going to get done.
Mark, Nick just brought up an interesting point. And he said with the Democrats winning tonight, was this really a Democrat win? You went from Democrat to Democrat. No Republican was ever favored to win any of these seats to begin with. Was this actually a Democrat win?
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at where New Jersey's going to play out, and it looks like the Democrats might like overperform any of the polling, really. And that would be a Democrat win, like a Democrat overperformance of the polling.
Okay.
And even if it isn't, they're still going to paint it as a Democrat win. Look, Trump's in office and everybody's voting from Democrats. But, you know, just thinking about this shutdown, the just absolute retardation in which the Republicans have backed themselves into a corner. So they can't end the shutdown without giving in to Democrats, essentially, is what it comes down to. And the only path that they have out is to either like bully the Democrats into submission. And they're not doing that. They literally are. There's nothing that they are leveraging over the Democrats, or to use the nuclear option, which they can't do because they don't have enough votes. That's why Trump's screaming at them. So even though they're in charge of Congress and the Senate, and everybody knows they're governing, nobody gives a crap about the filibuster rules, and they look like complete losers. They're going to have to cave to the Democrats, and they're gaining no political capital by keeping the government shut down. The whole point was to use it to gain political capital. Well, what are they
let's
gaining?
be
They're
honest.
gaining
Most
nothing.
Americans have no idea how the Senate actually works. When
Yes.
Democrats are out there and they're saying, well, Republicans are in the majority in the Senate, they could reopen the government when they want. They don't. Republicans just sit there and they think Americans know about the filibuster and cloture votes and No, the American
Yeah.
people don't know. The American people see that when you're in the majority, there's high expectations. It's why Mitch McConnell, when he became the majority leader, said, I'd rather be the minority leader because nobody has any expectations of you doing anything when you're in the minority.
Yeah, that's the problem with most of these politicians.
This whole Republican Party summarized in one sentence.
Yeah. The interesting thing we're starting to see now is a little bit of turning inside the Republican Party. We've seen it from Tom Massey from the beginning. We've seen it now from Rand Paul. There's an interesting one we saw today, and I want to get your guys' reaction on a roll of video for you guys. Of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who apparently is very upset that President Trump snubbed her for the Senate seat in Georgia, knowing that she damn well can't win based on the background, based on who she is. But she was on The View today, and she was actually going after MAGA influencers.
I think there's a lot of paid social media influencers. And I found it very interesting that they were the MAGA accounts, but they're all paid, and they all attacked me when I announced I was coming to join you ladies on The View. And I think that's very weak and pathetic. But when I talk about weak Republican men, I'm pretty much talking oftentimes about the leadership in the House and the Senate, and they're not getting our agenda done.
Good old Marjorie Taylor import every single illegal immigrant to come work at my construction Green. Turning on MAGA?
Who needs Democrats when you got Republicans? I mean, seriously, when we look at it, I mean, look at what she's someone that's advocating. You got to give in to the ACA subsidies, and Republicans should have been explaining to the American people that, hey, Democrats gave you these subsidies. So when these subsidies expire, you're facing 4 years of rate increases, not just 1 year of rate increases, 4 years of rate increases that are built up. And the longer the subsidies take place, the longer the rate increases are hidden from you, the American public. So now you have all these people getting their health insurance bills like, oh my God, it's going up 30%. Well, yeah, that's like me not paying the increase on my car insurance for 4 years, and I get that bill finally. It's going to be a big increase over that period. And Republicans, they had how much time to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, right?
Yeah.
We're talking 15 years now.
Yep.
They had to come up with a better alternative plan, a plan that is actually simple to understand, that you could explain to the American voter, that all Republicans agree on, and yet they still have nothing. And then they wonder why they lose. But you don't need a plan to lose when you got Marjorie Taylor Greene sitting there bashing you and bashing Republicans. I mean, she's ridiculous in herself.
She's actually one of Mark's favorite members of Congress. He told me off the record. I don't know what's gotten into her. I mean, she's on this new faction. Mark's there rolling his eyes.
John, what did she say that was wrong, though? Like, I agree with the whole construction aspect.
No,
I think her business should be rated.
Yeah.
But like, what did exactly on The View did she say wrong? Are we just upset that she was on The View? Because that
Well,
could
I think
be.
I think it's absolutely retarded, to use your favorite word, that she would.
I would go on The View and shit on Republicans. Like, I would do that all day long.
Yeah, you or I would, but not this woman who's this devout MAGA when they're out there every day calling Donald Trump Hitler. I mean, really? To me, it seems like more of a personal issue.
Well, Republicans are idiotic for complaining that she's going on The View. I mean, if someone's invited, go on The View, but actually challenge the ladies on The View. Don't sit there.
She doesn't have the brain power to do that. No, to me, it's like her crying, like Massey crying and Rand Paul crying. No, well, Donald Trump doesn't want to support me for Georgia. Well, no, because we don't want to give away another election seat. We want to win these 2 Senate seats back in Georgia. Yeah. We don't want to have an instance like we had in Arizona where Carrie Lake lost an election however many times and keep losing these elections. It boils down to Curtis Sliwa here in New York. How many more times are you going to run, Curtis, before you say, okay, enough's enough? Let's maybe try to get somebody who could win this seat, not run for the New York City matching funds where I'm getting 7-1 or 8-1, where I can raise millions of dollars.
But Republicans didn't even put up a candidate against Sliwa.
Bingo.
No, because they're not going to waste their time, and I'm not arguing with you on the fact of it, but they're not going to sit there and waste their time on this guy who's pretty much a shoo-in. And this boils back to what we were talking about earlier about there being accountability inside these local GOPs. Who's running the New York GOP? Who's running these local GOPs? Who's responsible for putting these candidates up?
Let me tell you another story, John. I polled on 3 states now privately for like Senate and governor races of MAGA candidates. And they're in like bluish states, where it's like if Trump really had a major preference cascade, then they could get over the finish line. But they're probably going to run in the general and lose by like 7 or 8 points. And the Trump endorsement would help them. And the polling all looks the same in these states. Like people are super frustrated with traditional Republicans. Republican brand is like really trodden down. People want a MAGA Republican over a traditional Republican, but they're still going to lose. And what's the trend I've seen across all of these people? They don't know who to talk to. They can't get in at the RGA. Donald Trump's endorsement person doesn't want to talk to them because they're going to lose. The NRSC doesn't want to spend money on them because they're going to lose. And so what you have is all these blue states where what's going to happen is some basically establishment toady's going to run and look like an absolute retard. Give the Republican Party a bad name, run on nothing, and look like a complete failure because the Republicans don't want to spend money. They don't want to actually plan. They don't want to look at, there's only 50 states.
They don't want to do the hard work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, especially when you look at the Democrats, when you've got Zohan Mamdani, a 33 or 34-year-old assemblyman or whatever, come here. He's now running the biggest city in America absolutely.
But here's a key difference between Democrats and Republicans. So I live on Long Island, which my area is a red area, thankfully. But what Democrats will do is they will bus their people in from New York City to Suffolk County to go and campaign for Democrats here. They'll bus them in to help protest here, to make the protest bigger. You never hear of Republicans organizing in Suffolk County and sending Republicans into the city to help Republican candidates win city council seats, win the mayor's race. And that's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats are highly organized. They're activists. They're trained. They're engaged. Where Republicans take a much more hands-off approach, just like they did with the education system. And now the education system has been hijacked by all leftists, just like they did within the federal bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy has been hijacked by all leftists. If you would have asked anyone 15 years ago, a member of the FBI, are they a Democrat or Republican? Most of them would have said Republicans. They didn't realize that Democrats were building the intel component out and they were hiring right off the college campuses. Republicans tend to ignore what's right in front of their faces. But then they act all surprised, like, oh, we had no idea. We had no idea. It was like you hear all the Republicans with Operation Arctic Frost that they were being spied on, and they're sitting there saying, this is shocking. This is outrageous. No, we've been warning you about this for years, and so you shouldn't be surprised. And yet you still haven't introduced a bill to curb their power, despite them spying on you, and you're the one with the power of oversight.
Or arrested anybody.
A lot of frustrated people out there.
Or how about arresting somebody? I mean, they've got James Comey on lying to Congress when the man's clearly guilty of treason. You've got Letitia James with her political persecution of President Trump, who's going down for mortgage fraud.
But you could arrest as many people as you want. The reality is you're not fixing this problem until Congress exercises their power of oversight and introduces legislation to take away their statutory authority. If you want to arrest a couple of people, that's great. There should be accountability and they should go to prison. I have no problem with that. But it's not going to stop the bureaucracy from doing it again. The bureaucracy has become an animal unto itself. It's the fourth branch of government that has no respect for the checks and balances and separation of powers. And so Republicans, they all knew that FISA was being abused. Congressman Devin Nunes revealed everything. And then a vote came up to reauthorize FISA. And what did every Republican do in lockstep? Well, we'll vote to reauthorize it. That's the idiocy.
Burn it down politics. That's where we're at. Nick, did I show you my spectrum? Did I show you my political spectrum?
No, you didn't.
It's probably dangerous. Let's see it, Mark.
No, hold on.
I have a feeling retardation is going to be somewhere in there.
No, it's not retarded. It's actually super intelligent, I think. I'm trying to redefine politics in a way that Republicans can understand. It's up, John.
Let's get it up here.
This is no longer authoritarianism versus economic freedom. I redefine the axis. Now it's grift tolerance versus authority trust. How much screw jobs are you willing to suffer? How much theft and perennial just bad governance? And how much do you trust the people in leadership? a lot or a little. And I think like 65% of the country is in the green square, which is they are done. They don't trust anybody. They think they're getting screwed every day by everyone, and they want to burn it down. But the problem is, I think most Republicans are in the blue square, which is like long live the system. The system's worked. I'm part of the system. It's been pretty good to me. And it's kind of okay if 30% of Medicare is fraud. Like, it's good enough, and so that's the right. And I think the left is pretty equally divided between the red and the purple squares. So I think like a good chunk of core Democrat voters think that it's like, well, I trust authority, but I don't like Pete Hegseth, and I would rather get my person in charge because Pete Buttigieg was the best Department of Transportation director ever.
He was
And
John's
then,
favorite.
yeah, and then Mamdani and AOC are in the purple one, which is like, I'm
Fantastic.
taking this crap over, and we're going to grift the hell out of it.
No, I think it's
So,
a good graphic, and I think you're bringing up great points. The only thing I may disagree with is the 60% and burn the system down. I find I encounter people that it's just they don't care. They genuinely don't care. It's like, oh, I don't like politics. I don't get involved. I don't talk politics. It doesn't affect me. And so many people have their heads buried in the sand, and that's what concerns me more than anything. That's why when I look at the threat, Democrats will talk about Trump being an authoritarian, Republicans will talk about communism. Let's be honest. The real way we go authoritarian is the actual bureaucracy. That's where we become authoritarian. They have more power than the sitting president of the United States.
We saw it with the healthcare state, and nobody's doing anything about it. In fact, because of the influence of pharmaceutical companies in the healthcare industry, I say this a lot. People don't, nobody's run with this, but if we hadn't put Medicare and Medicaid in place, our national debt would only be 18 trillion right now, not 38 trillion. And it's literally what killed us. And it's what will destroy our republic, or basically what paying for end of life care for boomers is what's going to give us that final shove over the cliff. And we got the right people in charge right now, and nothing's happening.
Well, but again, I think that we look at the education system, we look at how it's fundamentally collapsed, we look at people that don't think critically. We've spent what, $23 trillion since the war on poverty began, and the poverty rate is pretty much the same. It's just been flat. $23 trillion. Where did all that money go? And again, it speaks to the stupidity that you have all this money going out of the federal government, our tax dollars going out. And it's going to all these non-governmental organizations, all these nonprofits, all these left-wing activist organizations. And Republicans don't even talk about how our tax dollars are actually being weaponized against this. There's more money today going to feed the homeless than ever before. And yet there's more homeless today than ever before. It's completely ludicrous. And yet nobody really talks about it. Insane.
Whereas Mark says, we talk about it every time Mark's on the show.
Yeah.
The fourth turning. Are you familiar with the fourth turning, Nick?
No, I'm not.
It's the concept. It's the concept that every 80 to 100 years, a massive phenomenon happens in a country and pretty much upends it. I mean, so you look at the last 80 to 100 years, World War II, or whatever point you want to catalog.
Civil War, American Revolution,
the Great Depression, whatever you want to look at. And Mark says that we're now in the fourth turning, and something's got to give. And whether it be the housing crisis that we're in, the debt crisis we're in, and I'm not just talking about government debt, I'm talking about personal debt at all-time high among every single American. Not every single American, but a large majority of Americans. So Mark is under the impression, and I tend to agree with him more and more every time he talks about it, that we're now in this fourth turning where something's got to give at some aspect in this country to essentially hit the reset button.
It will, but what comes next probably is going to be a hell of a lot worse that we're going to have to slow through.
Yeah.
But when we look at it, if we look at the 21st century, I mean, think about it logically. You had 9/11, you had the mortgage meltdown crisis, you had shocks to the system, the election of Trump, which was a shock to the system. Then you had the pandemic and COVID. Then you had a brain dead president for 4 years that ran wild. And so what's coming down the pike next? I think Mark's right. I mean, there is something. The house of cards can only stay up so long, right? sooner or later, this whole thing's going to come crashing down. And I think the question on all our minds would be, well, what happens next? And none of us really know. And that's probably the most frightening aspect to it, because we don't know what happens.
Things we do know. It's a historical theory, and I'm not a historian, but there's patterns that repeat themselves. And so what causes the fourth turning is generational differences. It's like, okay, you have a generation of people that grow up in a different context. So the people that grew up and had to go fight a war for Europe grew up very differently than the generation that followed them, which is the boomers that have everything handed to them on a silver platter. And so what happens is, once you have a major crisis, everybody has to come together. They form a new society. There's different values. There's very strong institutions. There's a lot of cohesion. And that phrase, over time, people become more individualistic. And then eventually what happens is all the institutions collapse. And that is exactly where we are. And so once the institutions collapse, everything gets so bad. And we talk about top-down solutions. What can the Republicans do? How do we fix this? But what happens in the fourth turning is there's a bottom-up pull for institutional order. And what the basic major hinge pin is that when that happens, it's a new generation. And I think we're seeing that right now. And it's very clear to me with the Israel stuff, where the boomers and the Zoomers are very, 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 very different on this topic. The boomers are preaching down to the Zoomers, and the Zoomers are rebelling against the boomers. It's like, nope, we don't want to hear your crap. It hasn't worked for us. You handed us a horrible society. And the boomers handed Zoomers a horrible, horrible, horrible society. They had the best of everything, a land of milk and honey, and they gave them a broken and fragmented society. And so what history tells us is the millennial generation is the hero generation that steps in and reforms these organizations. And we're going to see a very rapid change in public opinion, where everybody all of a sudden says, oh, well, that works for me. Let's do this. And, the Zoomers are the ones that generally get thrown into the front lines of a major war. But, it doesn't have to be a war. It could be
it could be anything. But what concerns me is we're seeing this problem of oikophobia. So oikophobia is people that have a nation become so successful, and people begin to take things for granted, and then they begin to disdain. They have this disdain for the country they come from, their hatred. And we're seeing that, right? A lot of Americans despise America because that's what they've been taught. America is a horrible country. We're a racist country. Western civilization is the problem. Western civilization is the cause of all the world's evils out there. And so we do have that backlash. So if we are going to see a younger generation rise up, well, what scares me is what's going on in Nepal and Madagascar, where you do have the Gen Z rising up, fighting against corruption, which is great, and the social media bans, fine. But what is the ideological mindset of the younger generation? I don't think people realize how we have this tendency to be authoritarian, each and every one of us. It's a constant battle between liberty and authoritarianism. And like, everyone hates Congress because they say Congress doesn't do anything. But let's be honest, people don't want Congress to just pass bill after bill after bill. They want them to pass the bills that they want. And so we see this authoritarianism creeping in. And so it does concern me, if we are heading to this rise up of a younger generation, what's it going to look like? Is it going to be in the mold of a Mamdani, where we know those policies lead to death, poverty, and misery? Is it going to be something new? Is it going to be getting back to the roots of the America's founding? Well, they don't even know the roots of our founding. And so what comes next? And I think that's the biggest fear I have.
And it's who's running the show too. You've got so many people now. It's like a race to the bottom of who could be the next influencer, who's got the most Twitter followers, who's got the biggest social media following. And it's really not. It's not about that. It's about, as you said, getting America back to its fundamental values of truth, justice, and the American way. And we've drifted so far off that path that maybe the fourth turning is what is needed in this country to get us back on track to that truth, justice, and the American way. Nick, we'll give you the last word here before you depart and tuck your kids into bed.
Well, I think you're bringing up a great point when you do look at the social media and how people interact on social media. It seems like today most things aren't based on substance. Everything is about optics and perceptions, and there's no real deep thought that takes place. And that's part of our problem. We've lost the ability to have deep conversations. I mean, listen, when I went to college, I had communist professors, but they loved me because they appreciated education. They appreciated the debate. They appreciated learning. Today, people hear what they want to hear. People retreat to their echo chambers. And listen, you host your show, I host my show. Mark hosts his. He does the numbers and the stats. And the second people hear what they don't want to hear, they start attacking you. Like they could agree with you on 95% of what you say, but the second you deviate from their narrow-minded point of view, well, now all of a sudden you've betrayed them. You're a traitor. And you know how many people I had unfriend me? Because I'm like, no, any Republican that advocates voting for a disgraced governor of New York State in Cuomo should be ashamed of themselves. And I had people DMing me, and I'm just like, and I just put it out there on social media. Like, my job as a professor is not to validate your opinion. I don't give a shit how you feel. I don't care what your opinion is. I'm going to say what I think and what I believe. And I think that you hit on something really important, the lack of substance. And it also mirrors the lack of substance within pop culture, right? And all the BS and special effects rather than the storyline and the creativity to it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Professor Nicholas Giordano, host of the PAS Report. Where can people watch the show? Where can they follow you?
Everyone go to PASreport.com on any podcast platform, the PAS Report, or just follow me on social media at PAS Report. I make it simple for people.
Nick, we'll have to all go out with a beer, have a beer sometime with the great Mark Mitchell. We'll have him. We'll get him a Heineken 00, no alcohol in it. Nicholas Giordano, always a delight, my friend. We'll see you soon, brother. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother.
Great seeing you, Nick.
Good man, good dude. So, and then there were two. I think we've still got a pretty decent audience with us tonight. So it's nice that everyone's
it's like almost 600 on YouTube, ripping on Twitter. There was a little problems getting the stream started on Twitter. I don't know what happened. Some of it got cut off. We gotta figure out how to stick the landing next time. But
the communist.
I'm interested if he'll read about the fourth turning. I would love his take about it. It's a tough one to get just dumped in your lap and parse it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think they undersell is how strong leadership really matters. Because, and again, whatever, if we get in a galvanizing war against another country, that would probably bring everybody together in a very patriotic way. If it turns inward into some civil war, it's 100% going to be global homo, DEI, Democrat socialism versus literally probably Christian white identitarianism. That's just what's going to happen based on the current trends. But remember when everybody hated each other after Bush Gore? And then all of a sudden, everybody was like, oh, my God, Bush is the best president ever because of 9/11. Well, we're gonna see stuff like that, during the fourth turning. And there's no way to know at all, what that looks like.
You brought up the Bush Gore, so I guess I've got to say something that's probably pretty unpopular right now among Republicans. I think that was probably one of the first big steals in American history for an election with that Bush down in Florida. It's probably not popular with the opinion of the folks listening, but in my humble opinion, for what it's worth, probably worth absolutely nothing. I think that was probably one of the first tests in America of stealing an election for someone.
There's no secret cows with me. I mean, I believe it. With everything I've heard about Florida and what goes on behind the scenes down there, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's
And Ted Cruz was running the show, and we know who Ted Cruz is. So he was running the show down there for Bush. So it tells you what
John, I took a swipe at Ted Cruz today.
Let's talk about that. But first, my phone is just buzzing. I'm in a group chat with my entire family. I've got all sisters in there. And one just popped across my phone that I couldn't stop laughing. But this is, and I want to read it to the audience, Mark, because this is what the mindset of what people think and what we talked about with Roger earlier. My mother tweets in this chat, Cuomo won Staten Island. If that stupid red hat dropped out, it would have been a tie. This is the misconception that Roger had spoken about, assuming that the uninformed voters like my mother, no, right now, as it sits with 90% of the voting, Mamdani's at it's about 51%, with Cuomo at 41%, Sliwa at 7%. That's assuming now that he'd pull all 7%, which is not the case.
Let's also acknowledge that Sliwa definitely overpolled his actual turnout. He was doing a lot better in the polling, and his people just didn't show up at all.
were they ever there? I mean, were people telling the truth? That, you're a pollster, Mark, and I'm a pollster in a sense, and I do different kind of polling than you. My polling is usually done in grocery stores or sporting events where I talk to people, and in some cases, I would argue that's the most important polling you could do, is talking to the people and seeing, what their mindset is, and interacting with them face to face. But there's no doubt that the Republicans, as you said, this could be a win for the Democrats if they grossly underperform. And by every metric we're looking at right now, the Virginia governor's race, Mark, this is a massive 15 points with 95% of the vote in Virginia. Winsome Sears down 15 points. I mean, that is absolutely massive, and not like any poll I think we've seen out. Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey right now up about 13 points with 95% of the voting. So I don't know where the outstanding areas are, but I'm not sure how you make up 7% of the electorate in 6% of the outstanding vote, if that makes sense to you.
I see her at Decision Desk is projecting.
I use the New York Times. Their numbers are usually pretty accurate. She's at 56% with Jack Ciattarelli at 43% with 94% of the vote in. So the pollsters missed this one, I think, massively. Virginia, another one massively. And, to the pollsters who said in the New York race, I'm glad you didn't even poll that race in New York, because you would have probably been way off with them missing. I mean, it's looking like where it's at right now, he's going to win by about 9 points, 8 points, 7, something like that.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn that this is the power of independence. And Republicans are going to look at every Trump victory and say, look at all of those Republicans. And they're not, dude. They're just not. And they don't like what you stand for. And you make yourselves look retarded and you fail. And so, how are they going to fix this? I really don't know, because they are spending every fiber of their being, not only to rebel against MAGA, but to redefine MAGA into being pro-Israel. And it's like, okay, Trump's pro-Israel. Of course. Sheldon Adelson was his biggest donor. I get that. Yeah. But it's like the movement is America first. And that's what it is. Yeah, that's what's going to get people.
Do you think this is an eye-opener for the midterm elections, that Republicans are underperforming in certain areas? I mean, do you think this is an actual eye-opener? I mean, you see record fundraising from the Republican Party to the NRCC, the NRSC, and I tell all the audience, Mark, do not give a dollar to the NRCC. Do not give a dollar to the NRSC. If you like a candidate, you give it to that candidate directly, so at least you know where the money's going, and you know the money's being well spent if you support that person. Is this an eye-opener, or are we just going to see business as usual come the midterm elections, where the Republicans think that they're just going to sit on their asses and win?
Well, we'll see specifically, vis-a-vis the polling, why there was an underturnout. And we'll be able to apply some of that to the 2026 polling. But again, an actual midterm cycle is different than a special election off cycle kind of thing. Sure. And we'll see, and people will adjust their model, and people will come out with new generic ballot polling, and will give us an idea of where we're really at. But at the end of the day, it's tough to poll individual congressional races. The generic ballot's only somewhat predictive. There's so many things up in the air with the map. We're not really going to have a very clear picture of what's going to go on. Senate polling is going to be a little tough, and the Senate races are, in my opinion, corrupt as hell. So it's I guess we're going to count on Dominion, or all of a sudden the Republicans figuring something out, but it's going to be campaign season, kind of after Christmas. They're already going to start talking about that stuff. So I don't know. I think everybody needs to prepare themselves for Democrats getting back into charge at this point, probably. And I think it's going to be no holds barred.
And there's some important races, Mark. You've got the 2 seats in Georgia that are crucial seats that the Republicans could possibly pick up. You've got Colorado. I'm going to go through just some of these seats. You've got Colorado and Delaware, which are written off. Illinois written off. Massachusetts written off. Minnesota is a seat that you can possibly flip if you were to spend some money. New Hampshire, another one. You've got the New Jersey race, which I guess we can write off now. New Mexico coming up. Oregon, Rhode Island, Virginia. Those are all safe Democrat seats coming up. But you've got Tom Tillis, who's retiring in North Carolina. that's a seat that the Republicans could possibly lose with the way that they've been going and the way that they've had things going. You've got Florida up for election. I consider Florida a safe Republican seat right now, but who the heck knows with the Democrats' will to cheat. You got Virginia up for election, so you've got some seats that are ready to go, but it's just a matter. You've got John Ossoff in Georgia, another one that the Republicans. I don't even know who the candidate is down there, and we're a year in. I mean, you're pretty much a year from the election. I can't even tell you. Do you know who the Republican candidates are down in Georgia for Senate?
No.
There's my point. So it's like, if you're not going to get serious with this, and Mark, I'm not even sure the Republicans want to win the midterm elections. I go back and forth, like questioning myself. Do they really want to win? Do they not want to win? And it goes back to what Nick was saying about Mitch McConnell, liking to be in the minority. Do they really want to win, or do they just want to cede power over to the Democrats?
Yeah, and Donald Trump threw everything at the Republican Party for 10 years that he thought was necessary, and it wasn't enough. And that's the problem. Well, you say donate to the candidate, but I even wonder how good that is, John, because so many of these candidates, these outsiders, are forced to run and use the traditional establishment vendors, and they're told really, really, really bad advice. And in some cases, I've heard stories of the vendors being used against them with their own money, which is really kind of horrible. But my point is, if you wanted to give a lot of money to save America, who would you even send that money to?
At this point right now, probably the Wounded Warriors, probably Tunnel to Towers. I mean, I haven't given a political donation, Mark, in probably 6 or 7 years. And the last very big political donation I gave to was a friend running for state assembly in New York. I'm vehemently against it because
donation ever, but
okay, you're doing better than me. Because I know how the money is spent, Mark. I've ran political campaigns. That's what I did for most of my adult life. I know how the money is spent. I know the Capitol Grill dinners that are had. I know the expensive steak dinners that are had. I know how it all works. So I'm very against it, and it sucks because you need it. And at the same time, you look at it, you're like, well, I'm against giving to them, but then I'm out here saying, well, I'm against AIPAC giving to them. So if we're ruling out me and we're ruling out AIPAC, who's giving the money to win?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a sad point, is that none of this money comes without strings. Like, that's the problem. But let's just say that you were some magical unicorn trillionaire and you wanted to give $200 million to save America. And my point is that I don't think there's currently any organization that you could give that money to and trust that it would actually move the ball downfield. You can't give it to the NRCC. You can't give it to the RNC. You can't give it to the Trump administration. The campaign is gone. There's not going to be another Trump campaign. You could give it to the J.D. Vance campaign, but that's not necessarily money that's going to go to reforming the Republican Party, and it doesn't exist yet. Like, who else? You could give it to the America PAC, and you're probably giving money to support more H-1B visas. Like, I don't. Like the Democrats have this problem solved. Like, George Soros knows where the money goes. It goes through a network of things that are specifically geared towards winning. The Republican Party does not have that network at all. They have freaking Scott Pressler.
Well, we had it. It was Elon Musk. We had it, and that's that's at the beginning of the whole Elon Musk thing. I was very upset with Elon, and I'm still upset with Elon how he handled the situation. But I understood the whole time his frustration, Mark. I understood that he went to Washington, D.C. not knowing how the thing ran and came out extremely deceived and disappointed with not what he was promised, but his expectation that he was going to be able to go in there and actually make a change and actually make a difference. Little did he know that the Washington swamp and the machine was going to eat him right up.
Yeah. Literally the biggest Republican sugar daddy they've ever had ever. And they sent him out of D.C. with his tail between his legs. It's. Yep.
So, I want to get to you've got a super chat over here, so I'm going to bring it up on the screen.
Cool.
We've got to get to the super chats. I think we've got it up there. Go for big guy. Islamic radicals are openly celebrating the New York City results. Send send it to your bird. DM Mark.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, of course they are. Like, good for them. Thanks for the $10, but yeah, like, I'll go buy a beer with it and drown my sorrows. Like, thank you. Like, yeah, it's a problem, and Republicans are just like sleeping on this. Like, the aspect of, I think the world sorely misses Charlie Kirk, and we have a lot of churches, John. We have a lot of Christian conservatives. And yet, I don't really hear a lot of people out there leading on things like marry young, have children, find
Yeah.
faith. And those things you could say, well, there's a separation of church and state. But if we had done more of that, I think objectively we'd be in a little bit different societal situation right now. And the problem is that Republicans are so cowardly that they wouldn't even lean into that. And this was a very big topic because of JD Vance came out at the Turning Point USA event and actually had the horror to say he was trying to convert his Hindu wife, really agnostic, into Catholicism. And that gave people like heart attacks and heart palpitations, because as a Christian, you're not allowed to do that, even though it's like literally written in the Bible. So his leadership will be lost, but I think it shows by contrast that even the church is failing on this, that certainly conservatives are. They're not. That's the thing. They're treated like the socially conservative party, all of the negative baggage.
Yeah.
But they're not at all. They don't care. You got 3 of them that'll come out against LGBT stuff, and that's it.
And keep kicking the can down the road. And
yeah,
that's like the mantra of the Republican Party. I mean, literally, let's kick the can down the road till the next election, till the next person has to deal with it. And we constantly find ourselves, Mark, in the same issues each and every year. And it's only going to get worse when Donald Trump is not in office. We're just at a strange point right now in America, Mark. It could take a turn for the better, or it could take a turn for the worse. And if it takes a turn for the worse, I think it goes really bad.
Yeah. Well, that's the fourth turning. Youth unemployment, 17%. Maybe it'll get to 25. Maybe there will be pitchforks. I really don't know. Maybe we'll be unified against a common foe. Maybe that common foe will be anti-Semitism, John. I really have no idea. But
we've got some news here for the audience, Mark. It probably comes as no surprise. California voters agreed to aggressively redraw congressional district maps and lines to wipe out as many as 5 Republican seats. Much expected. Donald Trump said today that they're going to fight it in court and that they're looking at it criminally.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Good for them. That's the right way to deal with it. Another thing they could do is get California voter rolls and remove illegal aliens from them and aggressively deport people from California. There should be like an ICE raid on California. Get rid of as many illegals as possible because we know they're voting. It's just a question of how much. And but like what makes me feel gross though, John, is that like people in good faith actually came to me and were worried about Prop 50 and were like, is this going to pass?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the answer is, of course it's going to pass. The Democrats won it, and it's in a Democrat stronghold. But the fact that like people didn't understand that was kind of sad, that they've been misled to think somehow that the political calculus is different than how it really is.
You're absolutely right. I was trying to get up here before I think we wrap Ted Cruz, because you had mentioned his name and how you're going after him. You had a tweet you went after him with. I wanted to pull up a clip that he did with Tucker for everyone who missed the interview, because I think it was just so brilliant. What were you saying earlier about a Ted Cruz and your tweet against him?
Oh, let me bring it up. I got to find it. It was early I tweeted a lot today. I had some good ones. John, let me put a banger or two up.
Oh, boy.
This one I thought was good. Hold on. There. All right. I got to hit the share button. It's worth the wait, John. Give me a sec.
Take your time. Take your time.
All right. Here we are.
Let's see. Let's get it up here for the audience.
Hold on. I'll make it bigger. It would really be great if we could fix society before we dumped the young generation into total global war to clear away the bankster debt. It makes me sad to think about that their girl back home is actually an OnlyFans model.
Oh,
on.
I'm convinced there's probably people on here who God bless them, don't know what OnlyFans even is.
Oh, I think everybody does, but I hit a really banger too that a lot of people didn't get. John, read this one aloud for the crowd. And
I bet the folks at the villages are getting more tail than the Zoomers they're going to send off to war. You should have tagged Ryland Hollyhand in that.
He's not getting any. Actually, he's probably like Harry Sisson, where he's got like all these side pieces on text that he's, that guy's like a predator, apparently.
Oh,
this is the one. Now, you might not get the context, but this was a very popular meme back on the Donald back in the day, where there was a period where everybody was mad at Ted Cruz and they called him Lying Ted. And then all of a sudden he did some good America First stuff. So they changed it to Lion Ted. And then there was this meme where it was like, I'm coming, Donald, like to like help out with American First. Well, I said, I'm coming, BB. So.
Hold on. I think I've got the video that I was referring to. Give me 1 second, because I think we could all get a laugh out of this on where Ted Cruz has taken this massive turn. For those of you who didn't see it and who heard about it, the Ted Cruz Tucker Carlson interview that really upended the Western world over here. It was Ted Cruz being questioned about his political donations from AIPAC. Give me a second. We're getting it up here for the audience who hasn't seen it, who want to be filled in on what's been going on and the controversy between Ted and Tucker Carlson, as the Democrats and Rhinos like to call them. Hold on, I think we've got it up here.
We got people in the chat
taking money from the Israel lobby. Have you
taken money from the Israel
from AIPAC?
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress
just
13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, there are folks online who are in the fever swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC.
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
When
was the last time AIPAC took a position that deviated from Prime Minister Netanyahu?
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC.
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets...
No, I'm not going to do a simple...
I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government. And I don't... It's not. It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay. So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Oh, they're not?
But it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
it's not true.
No.
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC because AIPAC's not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if...
So I'm not mad about that. There are a million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including Israel.
But AIPAC are Americans. They're not Israelis.
Hold on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
Yeah, and why what you're saying is false.
Why aren't they registered as a foreign lobby?
Because they're not.
So this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Mark, about the lies. I mean, Ted Cruz blatantly lying in every word he said there.
Yeah, put yourself in a Zoomer's shoes and you watch that clip, and they're going to see it because it's on the internet. They're just going to believe that Ted Cruz is lying because of his body language and how it seems super inauthentic. And they're not going to believe that Tucker Carlson was funded by Qatar because they haven't been presented evidence of that. And who's the one there that's fighting for the interests of the American people? It's Tucker. And that's the future for the Republican Party. Like, sorry, Twitter's not going away. TikTok's not going to go away. And they're going to see through your lies. The number one thing you can do to piss off the younger generations is prove that you have somebody else's interests ahead of theirs. That's it. They're very selfish people. They want this stuff to be fixed, and they're going to go to the person that's going to fix it. And Mamdani believes the stuff he says.
And you know the issue, Mark. This is you and I talk a lot about this, and it's not an Israel problem. It's not an Israeli problem. It's not a Jew problem. It's none of that. It's a foreign government lobbying problem. If any other foreign government were doing that, we'd call them out on it. But you and I have gone through the numbers, Mark, many times. To the tune of $130 million is the next closest foreign lobbying, and it's Japan.
Yeah.
That's the issue. It's not who's doing it. It's the matter of fact that it's happening right before our eyes. And as you said, the Zoomers, are seeing it. And in turn, Tucker Carlson's being called Tucker Carlson, that he's paid by Qatar. It's something we've never even heard of before any of this stuff started. And now it's just running rampant that Tucker's this anti-Israel hater because he's calling out the truth.
Yep. I mean, Qatar lobbies, they do it. It's like 30 to 60 million a year.
Yeah, not to the tune. No, it's not even that much. It's not even that much. 30 to 60 million? No.
I think I looked at something that included like personal donations from people.
No. We're talking about from a government lobby.
Oh, specifically. Okay,
dude,
it's much less.
That's like, Mark, that's like going and pulling every donation of who's Italian and who's not. I mean, you go find,
No,
Italian.
John. I asked an AI to do this specifically because I wanted to know the sum total of all influence of Israel versus Qatar. And what it says is that Israel has a hell of a lot more influence because of all the cultural aspects, the people at high levels of like institutions, and even things like the fact that one of Trump's major donors is one of the Adelsons, and they're very pro-Israel. He said it in a speech himself. This is all they care about. They only care about Israel. Yeah. And that's fine. The part that pisses me off is people try to paint Qatar as an equal, and it's just not. And what they use is fake stats. They say this one stat that, look, Qatar spends $6 billion influencing our education, and that's why all of these people on campuses are commies. Well, that was like $6 billion spent over like 40 years, and almost all of it went to build colleges in Qatar, satellite campuses, and not actually like it was, if anything, Americans influencing people in Qatar and not vice versa.
Right. And the notion you hear, Mark, is like, well, you have to do it because Israel is one of our greatest allies. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Are the Netherlands not one of our biggest allies? Are the French not one of our biggest allies? Is the United Kingdom not one of our biggest allies? Was the Soviet Union? So you can run through, every single country that has saved, Japan. You can run through every single country that has saved America at some sort of inflection point throughout history and say they are one of our biggest allies. Yes, America has a lot of allies. As a matter of fact, we have one on the border north of us. Canada is one of our great allies, right? So everything is under the guise of, well, they're our greatest allies. We have to do it. And that's like the good old line of telling your parents why you committed a crime is because my friend told me to do it, or I was following my friend, or he did it, so I had to do it. And that's what everything is hidden under now. You're our greatest ally.
John, I think I got another 2 or 3 super chats.
I'm already ahead of you on that, partner.
Yeah, sorry we're not more on chat, people. I saw some funny comments about the villages and stuff. It's hard to see when. I thought that was a banger.
someone had alluded to that they were on their way down to the Villages after seeing Mark.
Yeah, good for you. But
Getting
you got to admit, and the Villages is great, but you got to admit that it's a little dark when it's like the new generation is going to go fight and die in a war to pay for your Viagra. Almost everything you said about the fourth turning is what I was thinking, but I didn't know it was called that. $5. Really appreciate it. There's a book by Neil Howe that goes through this. There's two of them. The one's called The Fourth Turning, and I read most of it. And then there's another one called The Fourth Turning is Here, and I haven't read that one, but I think it's right. And I think it's almost like 95% there. But I think the aspect that he leaves out is like how utterly corrupt our entire society has been by like basically late stage capitalism too. So maybe we're going to have like a super fourth turning. Super trendy moneymaker, $5. Appreciate it. The path to Agenda 2030 has begun. This could be the end of America when these socialists take full control of the country midterms in 2028. Yeah, I will see. The pot of water is probably going to get hotter. And I think that's not a controversial take, John.
The super chats are pouring in. This was from Asunta Madani. I apologize if I'm not saying that correctly. 1999. Super chats are pouring in, folks. Keep them pouring in. By the way, I was on the phone with Mark one time, and I heard his daughter in the background. How was your stream, Dad? Did you get any super chats? Mark's children even know about your folks' super chats, so keep them coming. The kids,
they do.
The kids are.
They made like a nice little poster for my 100,000. It was pretty nice.
That's
awesome. Up on the wall here, but I can't turn the camera. So
you get a chats. They're still pouring in. The chats they're all pouring in. Appreciate the super chats over on
huge following still this late at night. I'm really surprised.
We told them it was a poll party, Mark. I mean, we hit everything tonight from the elections to Tucker Carlson being owned by Qatar to I don't think there's anything we've missed tonight. We've literally went up and down the spectrum, Mark.
I owe apology. The guy that's moving to the Villages says, I don't need Viagra. Congratulations. Cheers.
I've been down to the Villages once or twice before with Lou for some speaking engagements. It's a fun place, man. The one thing, Mark, you go down. I don't know if you've ever been down there. Dude, everyone there has a smile on their damn face. I mean, everyone is so happy.
It's like the pinnacle, man. I would love to go there.
Retirement seems like such a great thing, and I look forward to the time.
I don't know if I'm going to make it that long. This is like, I'm tired, boss. I'm tired.
Well, the times are busy, Mark. When you've got Donald Trump as president, I've worked news cycles of Donald Trump being president, and then I worked a news cycle of Joe Biden being president, and now a news cycle of Donald Trump being, president again. So that's the course of, it will be the full course of 12 years. It's sorry, I was just reading one of your comments.
Oh no,
it's a tiring news cycle, but I'll tell you, when Donald Trump is in power, things are just so much more fun. They're so much more laid back and easygoing as compared to having to watch Joe Biden walk upstairs and fall down and slip on stages. And that was a sad time for America, Mark.
I'm with you, John, but I feel like Steve Bannon wants that again. You know what I mean?
He wants what again?
I think he's serious about a Trump 2028 run. And I don't know what the argument is that he's using. The only one I know of is to have like a final showdown between him and Barack Obama and convince the Republicans and Democrats to come together to amend the Constitution. And I don't know if Trump wins that fight at 83 because much of this is becoming increasingly about age.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Age aside, if there were an election held tomorrow, can Donald Trump win?
I think he would lose with independents. He's negative 25 with independents today, and he basically almost won with them. So, no, I don't know. I don't think so. I think people gave him. Is he doing bad? No, he's not doing bad, but it's probably not good enough. And if he won, I don't think he would have had the House and the Senate.
No, I'm speaking him alone, not nothing with the House and Senate or any of that stuff. Yeah, I just feel like things have really quieted down a lot, and people, because you look, we're a year in, and I don't blame Donald Trump for a lot of this, but we're a year in, Mark, and what do we really have to show for it? And I say it all the time. I'm America first before anything, before candidate. I want everything for America. I want America to be the best on the world stage. I want America to be the best everywhere in everything. And you look at where we're at right now. You have no indictments. You have 3 or 4 indictments that are, in my sense, are just nonsensical. You've got Letitia James on her mortgage fraud. Yeah, she should be prosecuted for it, but that's not the real crime. You've got James Comey on lying to Congress. Yes, did he do it? Yes, does he deserve to go to jail? Yes, but that's not the real crime. So you look at these things and you're like, well, and you follow guys like Mike Davis on Twitter, who's just uses profanity all day long. Get an effing lawyer, get ready. We're effing coming for you, effing this, effing that. And you're like, yeah, I get it. You're a big cheerleader for Pam Bondi, but when are we going to get a real indictment? And then the next thing you hear, Mark, is, well, it's an ongoing conspiracy, so there's no statute of limitations. Well, okay, I get that. That's great. It means we can go after all these scumbags, but how long do you want to wait? And how long are you going to allow this ongoing conspiracy to go on for? Now, I maybe just be thinking these things because I read all day long and I do this for a living. But if I'm thinking that, I would think the American people are probably thinking similarly to me on some issues.
It's coming to the fourth turning. I don't know what to tell you. It's people. What it's going to happen is people are going to take more drastic action. I already think, and we're going to try and confirm this with the polling, that people care less about the values like the Constitution. Constitutional crisis, weaponization of our justice, it's all been pushed to the brink. And so one of the things I want to test is if people are ready for a Caesar. And one of the questions we're going to ask is, like, if you could have one person just fix 3 problems that you care most about by giving the power of the legislature to the executive branch, would you support that or oppose that? And I guess we'll see. Because again, they're not really angry. People aren't angry. They're dispassionate. They're let down. They're dismayed. It's not angry yet, but that, anger happens really, really fast. And we saw that. It takes a 5-second clip of somebody getting shot in the neck, or something like that. And so it's a powder keg.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think we've hit our mark, Mark. We've hit everything. The audience has been terrific. They stayed with us mostly through this entire 2.5 hours.
Yeah, great audience.
2 hours and 45 minutes. We appreciate you guys following us, and we appreciate you guys being with us on this special edition of the Great America Show and Rasmussen Reports. I always enjoy doing these things with Mark. We have a great deal of fun. We have great audiences, and we appreciate all the questions and all that good stuff. We're sorry we couldn't get to more of your questions tonight. Due to the stream issues we have, and it's all technical process stuff that you guys don't care about, but we appreciate it. We're going to try to work to get better technology moving forward. Mark, where do you want to wrap this thing? How do you want to wrap this? What do you want to leave the audience with? We've seen a lot of black pill comments. I'm not much of a pessimist. Where do you want to leave this audience?
Well, I'm not a black pillar. I'm a lookout, and I should be graded on my visual acuity and nothing else. And it's like, what do you want? Do you want somebody up there with the binoculars lying to you about the icebergs? And this is it, folks. This is the American empire, and it's been destroyed by basically uniparty grift. Like that's it. We got 40 trillion in debt. We're one bond vigilante puke away from being basically insolvent. And life's going to go on. Like, America will exist, but I think it will be kind of a mess. And I don't want my kids to inherit the society in the direction that things are going. And I think a lot of people will be like that too. I think, again, people will come together in a way that will change the society. We know it's coming, and it's coming very rapidly. I think we're seeing the very first stages, but it's going to be like all hands on deck. You know what I mean? It's not going to be, in my opinion, that's the biggest problem with the Trump movement. Is everybody's like, oh, cool, we got somebody to do all the work for us. Like, fix it all, Trump. And no, that's not going to work. And probably the sooner we realize that, the better for the country. Trump was probably an olive branch to the establishment, and they spit on it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happened.
Yeah. Folks, that's all for us tonight here at the Great America Show, Rasmussen Reports. Please be sure to follow us on social media at John Fawcett NY and at Honest Pollster on Twitter. And you can follow us over on our YouTube channels at the Great America Show, at Rasmussen_poll. Mark does a show 3 or 4 times a week. I do a show every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, Mark as well. Folks, thanks so much for being with us tonight here. We really appreciate it. We're sorry the elections didn't go the way that we had hoped, but hopefully this is an eye-opener for the Republican Party. We'll see you back here next time, folks. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. God bless you all.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely